I will.
Okay, ready. I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District with board members Balcom, Haynes, Fensky, and Pagnoni present. And Jason will be joining us shortly. Are there any requests, any closed session comments for us to address?
There are none.
Okay, so hearing none, we will adjourn to closed session. Well, good evening. We are reconvening the regular board meeting of the Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District with all board members present. If you will please rise and remove any caps, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we are going to report out of closed session. 3.1, there's nothing to report. 3.2, personnel, nothing to report. 3.3, conference with real property negotiator, nothing to report. 3.4, nothing to report. 3.5, nothing to report. 3.6, student matters, stipulated expulsion on student number 2026A1. The board voted 5-0 in closed session to approve the stipulated expulsion with suspended enforcement for student 2026A1. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment at this time? No. All right. So let's hear from our executive leadership and our board members.
So just a quick welcome back for everyone, since we've not seen everyone since we've been back from break. And also I just wanted to thank, we have a lot of teacher committees right now that have been working really hard on different things from math, sexual health, grading and reporting. Our TAP committee's been busy. And so I just wanna thank them for all of their extra time and their commitment and their passion for what they're doing to help us move forward these last couple of months. And then also thank you to Jean for coming and meeting with Shay and I to learn more about our department and what we do and how we support our students and our staff and our families, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, well, Happy New Year, everyone. Just to give the board and public a quick glimpse into the next couple weeks. They're gonna be really active in the human resources and the fiscal departments. So the next couple weeks really kick off our in-depth 26-27 planning. The fiscal and HR teams are gonna be meeting with each principal in depth to help with their staffing, forecasts, enrollment projections, staffing movements, and strategic budgeting for the upcoming school year. And this really helps us get ready for our internal staffing process as well. That will start March 9th and run through the 20th as we're collecting, letters of interest for folks that might want to transfer positions. And then from there, it helps us with recruiting, knowing what positions are available, help us recruit from the outside. So it's gonna be a busy couple weeks in our departments there. And then wanted to inform the board that next week we are actually having a retirement meeting, which we hold annually. And this year we have 59 employees classified and certificated signed up, which is an enormous group. And it goes to the sign of our employee ages that we have on staff. And it's one of the largest turnouts ever for a retirement meeting. So I think we'll have a work cut out for us as we're expecting more retirements to come in as people are starting to make those decisions as well. So busy times in the next several weeks in our departments.
So Jim covered most of that. So for fiscal, we're working on prepping for budget development, and we're also working on second interim, which we'll bring to you in March. We had myself and Beth, our director, and all of ELT went to the governor's proposal budget workshop from School Services of California this week. It was this week, yeah. And so I do have a presentation that I'll send out in our board update in early February, and then a little bit more at the next board meeting. There was nothing too substantial in there. It's a lot of wait and see, other than the deficit is still growing for California.
I saw that.
Coal is dropping just a little bit more, and just as a thought back to first interim, we had already dropped it to COLA to 2.51 for next year. Now it's estimated 2.41, so it's not dramatically different. We were pretty close already, so it's just another little shift, but there are some suggested one-time things that are gonna be coming through. We just have to wait and see because the deficit is large, and so we don't wanna count on any of that at this point. And that's where we're at.
Nice, thank you. Tracy, do you have anything to this evening?
Yes, I'm happy that it's 2026 and it's great to have a new year. I wanted to congratulate our new board president and our new board clerk on their positions, so grateful for that. Thank you to John for his service for 2 years as a board president. And then I also wanted to acknowledge Jason for making the recommendations for people to serve in different roles for this year. So that took a lot of thinking and thought process, so appreciate that. Congratulations to the Creekview Ranch, who was seen on season 4 from the Placer County Office of Education, their series on inclusiveness and belonging. So we had Corey Cobal's kindness cards that were being shared on that, so that was great to see. I wanted to acknowledge our superintendent for sending out his monthly newsletter to the trustees. It is so helpful to hear things that are happening throughout the month, like the grading report card committee and things like that. Other than that, I'm looking forward to serving for the rest of the year and being a part of this district.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, everyone. Couple things. First of all, I've been enjoying my monthly meetings with Cliff. He implemented a monthly meeting with all of us on the board, and it's been highly educational. Good to get to know him and his background and his expertise, but also I kind of got a mini conference myself, Christy, about all the things you guys learned at your conference last week as I was asking some questions, and Cliff's a great teacher explainer. So yes, it's just great to wrap our heads around all the different moving pieces that our district deals with, especially financially, which is very robust. And then I also had a chance to attend with Jason, the FBI hosted parent workshop on internet safety at Silverado. So thank you, Principal Knox, for hosting that. You have a beautiful multi-purpose room, and it was a packed house actually. And so I had a chance to attend the One Pill Can Kill workshop, and I think the presenters might outnumber the parents that night, sadly, but this topic matter, I mean, fentanyl is a huge topic matter. I wish more parents had come, but this one apparently struck a chord because it was a packed house. So good job, Megan, on putting that together for us and for communications team for doing such a good job getting the word out. And it was definitely relevant topic matter. Just about predators online, bullying, stupid decisions kids can make that can affect them for a lifetime. So I hope that we can continue to get the information out for parents, because protecting kids is our biggest priority. You know, we've been ever backwards to do it, you know, during the school day, but you know, it's an uphill battle. So thank you for hosting it, and it was a big success. So thank you.
Jason.
Happy January to everyone. It's good to see everybody back. Tracy, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. As Ryan was saying, got to attend that workshop, learned some new things myself. It was very informative. I'm gratified to know that we've integrated that into some lessons for the students as well, some pitfalls to avoid. As we all know, social media has no shortage of those. So all the little traps and tricks that predators use to access our children, education is key on that. Appreciate Cliff and our monthly meetings. They're very informative. Learning a lot more about how you're forming becoming cohesive with your executive team and the great things that you guys are accomplishing. You guys have my utmost confidence going into this year. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do. Our site administrators, welcome back from winter break. I know it's been a couple weeks now. Hope everything's going smoothly. Hope everything continues to go smoothly, and just keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing a wonderful job. Looking forward to a few more site visits the next coming months. So I would love to see the amazing things your students are up to. Thank you.
Yes, John.
Okay, thank you, Jean. President Jean. And also, it's great to see Tracy. I'm glad she's back. She's looking healthy and happy. That's wonderful, wonderful news. And also, I want to also kind of echo the appreciation of the board updates and the meetings with Cliff and everything. I actually really enjoyed those updates. Had a little bit of personal stuff about going to the basketball game and everything like that. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I was reviewing, when I got elected, I made a list of everything I was promised the public that I would look at or try to do. There's one thing left, and it's something I bugged Cliff about quite a bit, but it's about the food. And I know Western Placer has this farm to fork program. I know that's not as easy to do as I thought it was originally, so. But over the last couple months, we have this new food pyramid that I want to talk about a little bit that I really like. And I think education is important as far as diet. 1 in 5, I was reading this on the CDC site today, 1 in 5 children in the United States and adolescents have an issue with obesity. They're severely overweight. 29.1% of adults in California also have a serious issue with obesity. And I used to think that was an issue of, you just gotta discipline yourself and work hard, but I've listened to podcasts by our new Surgeon General, Casey Means, who's really impressive to me. And food and the stuff they put in food, and that big food has put in our food, the processed junk, maltodextrin, seed oils, everything else is more addictive than nicotine or cocaine or anything. And it's an addiction. And what these big food companies do is they basically, remember this Jay Leno commercial, you can't eat just one with Doritos? And that's what they do. They try to make you addicted to that food. And I hope we could break that. And the basic message of this new food pyramid is basically eat real food. And I just wanna try to raise the consciousness of that. I hope teachers, whenever they teach about health, just try to eat real food. When you go to this grocery store, understand the ingredients. The old food pyramid, this is from the past where I grew up with, where my mom used to give me Coke and Twinkies, whatever, what can I tell you? But basically a lot of servings of carbohydrates and grains and all this processed stuff. Very little, avoid fats and everything, and it just was backwards. It's based on,
Junk science,
say again?
junk science.
It's based on junk science, but it's really based on just the power of big food and the power of money to corrupt our health establishment and our political establishment, frankly. Even today in California, SNAP benefits could be used for Dr. Peppers and Twinkies, for example, I believe. So there's just so much power, and it goes beyond parties, it's just everywhere. And the new food pyramid, of course, just has a little bit with the grain thing, but emphasizes healthy proteins, vegetables, fruits, olive oil, which is a healthy fat, yogurt. It doesn't have sauerkraut, which I think is awesome, but it has healthy cheeses, organic eggs, and just, just eat healthy. And I just hope we get to a point where first of all, we realize that people with weight problems, a lot of times it's not their fault. It's an addiction. It's very difficult to deal with. And secondly, to raise the consciousness and awareness of what we're putting in our bodies, and hopefully people, when they go shopping for groceries, could buy healthier stuff. So I'm kind of on a soapbox about that, but I just wanted to talk about it. Thanks.
That's okay, I enjoyed it. Superintendent Cliff, do you have anything to say this evening?
Yes, thank you. Well, congratulations to President Jean. At our last meeting, John literally and figuratively passed the gavel
Yeah.
to Jean. She was so excited, she took it home and we couldn't find it, so we realized quickly where it was, and so
It was
she was
next
just
to
so
my
excited, so she brought it back, so thank you for that. No, and thanks for Ryan for agreeing to be the clerk, and Tracy, as everyone else has said, I'll echo that, it's great to have you back and to see you in such good health and good spirits, so I know we're all excited for that. Just a few things, I like going last because most of you have mentioned something that I had written down, so I'll just skip it, but it was great to have the holidays and be able to spend time with family. And then since then, obviously we've had, not as much school because we had a big break, but went out and did some site visits here at Creekview and then over at Antelope Meadows the other day. As the board mentioned, we do our monthly one-on-one check-ins. And then I met with the board president last week to go over tonight's agenda. With our executive leadership team here, we have our own little one-on-one check-ins and meetings. I had a couple mid-year evaluation, kind of goal progress review with a couple of principals that I'm evaluating this year. As was mentioned, we sent out our second board update, so for those of you who may not be aware, the Brown Act really kind of regulates what communications and what actions board members can and can't do in public, and what happens if there's a majority of them and all this kind of stuff. So communication and information, you usually have to find kind of a better way to get information to them. So we saw that need and came up with a monthly board update where each of our departments contributes, and just things that may not come to this meeting but are important for them to know the context of the work that's going on in our district and our school sites and in our departments. So this is something we're doing each month just to be better communicators and really help the board feel like they have the pulse of what's going on at our school sites and in our district. So it's fun to put that together and share that. Glad it's being received well. Christy and I met with a representative from the schools insurance group, which is our local kind of joint powers agreement group where us and other districts in Placer, Nevada County kind of go in together to get better rates on insurance and liability and health coverage and things like that. So we had our annual meeting where they basically tell us it's all going up and why it's going up, and hopefully there's a few areas that aren't going up. So it was preliminary, we don't have the final percentages yet, but hopefully it won't be that bad. Some of the larger increases are for providers that aren't typically used in our district, in our area, and are in other areas, so we shouldn't be bearing the brunt of that. We did go out and notify, we had one of our administrators who was nominated, we had several that were nominated, one was selected as an administrator of the year in a certain category, and I'm being vague to not spill beans. We went and notified that person that they were selected, and they're gonna be honored on Monday this next week. There's a ACSA, the Association of California School Administrators Awards Night on Monday, where that person's gonna be recognized and celebrated. So we're gonna have a large contingent of our administrators there supporting this person.
That's
I
exciting.
didn't even say which sex, so I ain't telling anybody. So congratulations to them. We had lots of well-deserving nominees and one great deserving recipient. I had the great opportunity, I think it was last week, along with the other Roseville superintendents, so Eureka Union, Roseville City, and Roseville Joint. We went and presented on the Education Day of Leadership Roseville. So if you're not aware of that, the city puts this on every year, and anybody can participate, and they learn all about city governance and education and other things. And it usually culminates in some type of service project back to the community. So we each had a portion and presented to this year's class. So I was there with well-seasoned veteran superintendents, and then me in my 7 months, so it was great. But great questions, great active group. We attended the workshop that Christy mentioned. I wanted to give a congrats out to our communications team, so Renee Balderas and Michelle Pontes. So there's an organization called CalSPRA, California, hold on, I'm gonna get it.
California.
Schools Public Relations Association. Alright, CalSPRA. So they were recognized for 8 different pieces that they put out this last year and that were recognized and are gonna be awarded. So there's a conference in March that I'm gonna go to, and they're gonna be awarded for 8 of their pieces, which is just awesome. That's just great. So congratulations to them for that. And then the kindness crew was mentioned, so I won't hit that one. And then just letting everyone know, next week, I have the opportunity to go and attend the superintendent's symposium that ACSA puts on. I'm also in a new superintendent seminar series, so it's kind of coupled together. And I do have a former colleague who was just appointed as a superintendent that he'll begin on March 1st, and so I reached out to him and told him, if he had any questions, I have 7 months of experience, so I could help him out. So, I don't know if we'll see him there, but it's a great opportunity to kind of network and meet together with my colleagues and learn all the things that I don't know, so that's my report.
I'm gonna keep mine shorter. It is nice to see you back, Tracy. And let's see, so I had a great break. It's nice to be back with everybody. Since I assumed my position as board president, it's been really nice being able to meet with some of the district staff. So as Cliff mentioned, I met with Cliff and I met with Sarah and Christy and Shay, and I'm looking forward to meeting with other people. It's probably gonna be you, Jim, next week. Other fun things, I've been in touch with Sarah Counter over at Olive Grove and the robotics team, so we're hoping to bring them here for our next board meeting in February, so they can do a little showing off, so I'm excited about that because they're a lot of fun. And then I think I'm gonna just jump on a 2-second soapbox, because it's funny, I was talking to some people earlier today, and it made me reflect on something, on going to the CSBA conference thing in December. I went to a couple on AI. And this morning I was having coffee and I was going through my email, and it kind of made me reflect on something, because I realized the email that I was reading was AI generated, and it was from, you know, an individual with their name attached to it. And I would just like to encourage people to, instead of replacing your brains with a machine, to instead just take the time to put your own thoughts into words, especially because I see us as examples to the kids, and I just think it's really important not to go that route, that we are better than that. We are expecting our kids to write their essays and not use AI generated content. And it would just be, I would just encourage everyone that instead of taking the easy, lazy route, that instead that we all take the time to actually formulate our thoughts and put them into writing instead. So that's my thought for today. Because I don't know about you guys, but even when I'm on looking at things, I don't even know what videos are real anymore, because the AI stuff is just everywhere. So that's all I have to say about that. All right, let's move right along. We're going on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any comment or anything they would like to pull from the consent agenda to discuss? Does anybody want to say anything?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Jason and a second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving to. All right, we're going to the action items. So 7.1. We'll be hearing from Cliff on the focus areas that the board worked on.
There we go, alright, technical difficulties, my bad. Alright, so at our October 29th special board meeting, one of the things that the board had worked on in the breakout session was kind of updating and revising our board objectives, board goals, whatever the board wanted to call them. So as a result, the board had kind of decided on focus areas rather than specific goals and objectives. And when we left that meeting, we kind of had a general idea of 4 main areas, which were education, safety, communication, and fiscal, with a few bulleted points under each of them with kind of the thoughts, the kind of collective thoughts of what the board was interested in. And we left that meeting with further work to do. And so as the board knows, but for the public's consideration and information, some of us kind of split off and met with 2 board members at a time to discuss further each of these 4 areas and kind of get a better understanding of where the goal, where the board's intent was with each of these. And we tried to come up with draft statements that kind of read more like focused sentences on each of these areas. So So thanks to each of the board members for participating in that and for our folks and Renee for being a part of that. So what you have here is the draft of that work from each of these subgroups kind of put together all on one paper. These are kind of the big drivers and focus areas for the district. And then these help us then direct the work of the district. And then we take these and get a little more into kind of a SMART goal mentality. And then, our job is to make these things happen. And this is usually what's part of how we report back to the board. On our board agendas, you'll see we already have our old board objectives on there. So once we approve changes to that on our board agenda, items would be updated with these focus areas. So if an item was under one of these areas, we'd note it on the board agenda. And then this would be something that we review periodically, typically annually, to see if there's any changes, are we making progress? These are also things that typically play a role in the evaluation of the superintendent. If the superintendent is, achieving focus areas and the goals of the board. So they're attached to the agenda, you have access to them. So this was the first draft, and they're presented to you for review and or approval and or amendments. So it's just kind of open to the board on what they would like to do. Oh,
Well, I was gonna say, do
is there comment?
we have any public comment on this?
Yes, we have one this evening.
Okay.
It's Carolyn Brown.
Hi, Carolyn.
Good evening. I'm here to strongly advocate for the adoption of these focus areas because they reflect not only what our students need academically, but what they need as a whole human being to thrive, especially when it comes to behavioral health, safety, and engagement. First, education remains the heart of our work. Targeted professional development equips our educators with effective instructional practices that raise student achievement. But achievement is not just about content. It's about helping students think critically, reflect meaningfully, and solve problems with purpose. When we support critical thinking and ensure consistent student attendance, we create the conditions for deeper learning, stronger relationships, and long-term success. Second, and critically, is safety. And safety today must be understood through a behavioral health lens. A layered approach to campus safety that includes behavioral health instruction and early intervention is not optional, it's essential. Teaching students social emotional skills, recognizing warning signs, and intervening early reduces crises before they escalate. When behavioral health supports are combined with strategic security measures and systematic staff training, we move from a reactive model to a preventative one, creating campuses where students feel safe, supported, and ready to learn. Third, communication strengthens everything that we do. Timely, transparent, and ongoing communication builds trust with families and community partners. When we collaborate openly, we create shared responsibility for student success and reinforce the message that schools are not working alone, but that we are working together. Finally, fiscal responsibility ensures that these priorities are sustainable. Responsible resource management and multi-year planning allow us to invest wisely in instruction, behavioral health supports, safety measures, and staff development, without compromising the district's long-term stability. In adopting these focus areas, the board affirms a commitment to academic excellence, student well-being, proactive safety, strong partnerships, and responsible stewardship. Most importantly, it sends a clear message. Our district understands that learning cannot happen unless students feel safe, supported, and seen. I urge you to adopt these focus areas and lead with clarity, compassion, and purpose for every student, every campus, and our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you. So, anybody have any questions, comments, discussion?
Yeah, I like these, all four of them, and I just wanted one little comment. I have a daughter, we're looking at going to one of the UC schools, specifically UC Davis. And we had a lot of talks with my sister. You can't have education without critical thinking. Or you cannot have critical thinking without freedom of speech. And so my kids will not be going to the UC schools because freedom of speech it's not allowed there. When we have these, this is for elementary schools, I don't think is important, but I just wanna emphasize the importance of free speech and lots of different perspectives to allow for critical thinking. Just wanted to say that.
I wanted to acknowledge the process that was used to develop these focus areas. When we left our board retreat, there was a lot of work that was kind of put on Superintendent DeGraw's shoulders. Well, here's a draft, looks like Superintendent DeGraw has some work to do. And he implemented a very collaborative process of inviting 2 board members and 2 cabinet members to continue to refine and revise these focus areas. So rather than just taking it back to his office and creating something on his own with our ideas, he took the ideas and the initiatives to involve more than himself and involve everyone in the process. So I just wanted to make the public aware of that and really give some gratitude to Superintendent DeGraw for using that process.
Yeah, my takeaway from the retreat that we had was, you know, we had our board goals and we wanted to refresh and kind of boil them down to focus areas that would be priority for now, and we could make as each year goes along, we could amend, revisit, kind of identify focus areas that are important in terms of what we're measuring and what we're seeking after. So this is the boiled down first iteration for this year, which is great. And yeah, I think the wordsmithing that was done by the cabinet is great, and we had a chance to speak to those board members. I am for ratifying this. I think there's one piece where we kind of were wordsmithing on the safety point. There's a parenthetical word there. It says, enhance campus safety through a layered approach that leverages or includes behavioral health instruction and intervention. We didn't really boil down on that. I mean, if this is a board policy, I'm not sure if we need to redline the parenthetical includes there or leverages. I was a fan of leverages, obviously, but I'm open to the other one. But I think if we're gonna if this is what we're ratifying tonight, I don't want to put on the website with the parenthetical in there. So, any thoughts on that?
So, I mean, so that's what this discussion is, so you can approve, if we decide to approve this, however you would like to amend it. So that's the product from that.
Right.
That group, so I included what you guys wrote.
Good.
If you guys would like to strike through something, just let me know. And then if we do approve it, you're approving it as amended.
Good. Well,
And
before it goes to Frank,
we did have to wordsmith, because I think at one point we had the word enhanced like 10 times. So we had to find other words.
right idea,
Yeah,
yes, I
right.
just had to change some words. I would say take out the parenthetical and leave leverages personally, so.
I think that it was left in there just to simplify, if someone's not, oh, wait, what do they mean by leverage? Well, include, it's just gives it additional clarity. I don't think it hurts it to leave it in there.
I don't think it's necessary to have it in there. I would eliminate the includes.
I think keep one of the two, but I don't think we should keep them both. Tracy?
I'm fine with either one.
Oh,
Whichever one you guys want.
opinion, which one do you like better?
Yeah, pick one.
I think leverages, because it's kind of an action kind of connotation as well as inclusive connotation.
Tracy.
Debating this.
I would say that the leverages does add the element that we're gonna take action on it. So including is just including it as something supplemental, but leverages means we're really gonna emphasize it.
So we have impartial, leverage,
Leverage.
leverage. Leveraging.
It's not that big a deal to me, so.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to, do we need motions and everything or just
I
discussion?
mean, if you're done discussing, I have amended it to strike through the word includes.
Correct.
So if that's the only change, when you're ready to motion, you'd motion to approve
I
the
think,
board focus areas as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the focus areas as written here with the exception that we will strike the word includes from safety.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Fenske and a second by Board Member Haynes, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll move on to 7.2, the revision of board bylaws. Enumeration, reimbursement, and other benefits.
Alright, so former President Fenske had brought up this topic. For those who are unaware, board members can be compensated and can participate in our health benefits. State law determines the maximum amount that board members can be paid for their participation in these meetings. And that amount is determined by the size of the district. The state legislature recently changed the law that had not changed in 40 years on how much boards can be compensated. So the limit before was up to $240 a month. The new limit for districts of our size is up to $1,200 a month. So one, we needed to change this board bylaw 9250 to include the new language, the new limit. So that's what you'll see attached. And there was some discussion, at one point, there was a suggestion by board member or trustee Fenske about a particular amount, but that needs to be decided and discussed here. So I left it struck through, and then if you guys determine to change that amount, we come to an agreement and we would do that.
Yeah, the amount I'm happy with, I recommended was $250 a month, current compensation is $180. And, you know, I was at that one Placer County meeting and I mentioned other trustees, but we had this conversation, how much are you getting paid? And she or he said, $250 a month, and for a district, half the budget, half the size is ours. And I looked back and I realized this 180 hasn't been raised for at least 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, something like that, for quite a while. And so this is basically keeping up with inflation. None of us are here to make a lot of money, but I just think it's the fair thing to do is to kind of raise it to $250.
Do we have any public comment on this at all, does anybody else have any input? Tracy, Ryan, Jason?
Yes, I've always looked at this as a more of a volunteer job. But if the board feels it's appropriate to go forward with it, I'll support what the board decides.
I think it's fair and hasn't been updated for a long time. I think that the $250 a month idea is a good one, so I'm for that. I think any board that's taking $1,200 a month is pretty, thinks highly of themselves.
Maybe it's a gigantic,
I guess so, yeah.
it's got a lot more.
You know, this might encourage more candidates to run for school board in the future, hopefully too. But we're not making a lot of money here, putting in, going to the time we put into this, it's just, you know.
If it puts us in another tax bracket, I'm gonna say no.
Somehow I don't think that's gonna happen.
So can I make a motion? Is that okay?
Yes, please do.
I'll make a motion to raise our monthly remuneration from $180 to $250 per month.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Fenske, a second by Board Member Haynes, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so that passes 5-0. We'll move on to 7.3, the approval of student device update.
Good evening.
Ryan Wilkie.
I want to talk about a couple items this evening, all related to technology. The first one relates to our student Chromebooks that are in the classroom. This year, it was determined that there is a group of Chromebooks that are in our classrooms that will not meet the future California state tests that will be coming. When I say meet it, I refer to the ability for kids to actually sign in and take the assessment online. And so once we determined that, we've been adjusting and preparing ourselves for that event to come. There are some steps we can take to make sure that we are ready, that all students would be able, that it might include sharing devices across different classrooms, which is challenging for the schedule, but that we've done that in the past as well when these things occur. They also affect other online applications that we use for curriculum. So it's not just the state testing that's driving this, it is one of the, it does affect it, but we also have our math, science, language arts, social studies, the curriculum that are also accessed through student Chromebooks. So looking at the plan of replacing these Chromebooks, it's affecting our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade Chromebooks. And the end of life for these Chromebooks was in some cases, there was one model that was supposed to take us through this school year, and they did not. And so that's what we did, that was the one thing that caught us right away, we realized that wasn't gonna happen, and then some of them are end of life soon. So we came up with a plan to implement a plan for replacement over a 3-year term, so that way it wouldn't impact the budget all, replacing all of them just, in one fell swoop. We wanted to do it over a 3-year plan, still making sure that students had access to what they needed, but being more fiscally responsible and not try to, a major impact to the budget. So the first purchase would be for 5th grade in this school year. The following year, we would do a 4th grade purchase and then 3rd grade purchase, making sure that we were adjusting and moving devices around so that students still had access as we would go through that 3-year implementation, but at the end of the day, just not having that big, purchase all at once. So in this, for this purchase, we're seeking approval for the purchase of 820 HP G10 Chromebooks. They are the latest model that HP is offering for our students. And they do have specs that will keep us, we try to buy a little future proofing, but with Google, you never know. The ones we have that were supposed to keep us going, they were supposed to last us through another year and they didn't. But we do try to purchase a little bit ahead, but we're not buying the fanciest model. So for this purchase, the total cost of the project is $277,857. With this type of purchase, because of the size, we do go through a purchasing agreement that's through HP. The vendor must be part of that consortium, giving us best value, best purchase price so that we don't have to go out to a public bid. We are ensured the best price against any other vendor that's out there. We have used this vendor in the past. They're local, it's great, it's a female-run business just down in Elk Grove, and they're called Emergent Technology. So at this point, if there are any questions, asking the board to approve the purchase of those Chromebooks.
Okay, well, I have a question, so it didn't make it. What was the reason behind it, and what was different that would prohibit the sign-in?
So just like our phones, they get regular updates, right? So sometimes you wake up the next morning, you get a message to say your phone has been updated. Google does the same thing with our Chromebooks. They have an operating system that gets automatically updated. And around October, or sometimes earlier, the state of California tells us, lock in your operating system for the state assessment this year. It should be at the minimum of, and I'm just gonna throw a random number out there, 140. So we always do that, with just making sure, and we also don't let the machines go past the build too, because in nightly, they'll just receive updates and sometimes they'll go past and they'll get outside that window of the state assessment. These devices that we were expecting to hold at the recommended operating system build from Google and from the state, even though they were at that build, we tried to give their assessments that we give throughout the year to get students ready for it. They can't sign in because the operating system won't let them. It just basically won't run that assessment on that build that we have. And we can't update the device any further because it's hitting its end of life.
Because they've designed it to have a built-in end of life, so there's no more updates, so you have to buy something else. Which always makes me wonder why there are no other options. Because we know that the Chromebooks have short shelf lives.
And it depends on the model. We have some Lenovo's that were purchased very similar in time, and those are going just fine. And they're continuing to get the updates. So there's no, magic ball that tells us, hey, this is gonna be the one that's gonna make it 10 years. This is the one that's gonna make it 6 years. It's just it's part of my job in technology where it's the planned obsolescence that every board jokes with me about, that like, you're back again to get more devices that we are, yep, I understand, and that's just part of my world.
It is, it's a joke, but it's really not very funny.
Brian, what is like a general, planned number of years we hope to get out of device? I mean, and if they don't pull these switcheroos on us.
It's a good question, and I mean, it's changed over time. When I first started almost 9 years ago, they were giving us about a 5-year cycle. Then Google was getting pushback from school districts across the country. They some magically raised it to 10 years as far as like support. So their ballpark number that they give us on a regular from the age, purchase of the device or from the manufacturer date of the device, 10 years time.
There's not a comment box you can go push back and when you open up the window to make it so we can do that test.
Yeah, there's not really,
Of all the things the state legislature handles, you'd think that would be something they would say, you can't do that, so contact your congressman, I guess,
Yeah.
so that's really crazy. And so
and it's, again, I know we're real hyper-focused on the state assessment, but this is also affecting curriculum. So there's actually no guarantee that some of these new devices, or these older devices that we have will work and function with our new math adoption. So we're constantly trying to keep up. It's not just the only driver is not state assessment, it's all of the curriculum that we have to access online.
And then if we do this first step of 3, then we can still get all the students who need access to the test
Yeah.
through some finagling
Yeah.
to be able to take it successfully.
Yeah, I'm confident we can make it work.
Those are my only questions.
So actually, yes, you answered a couple of my questions like about bulk rate and the phased roll in. So we're not looking at paying that full price up front, or are we?
So this price that is in the item tonight is the full price for those 820 devices, but what we would be needing to do is that same amount or close to it each year for the next 3 years. Or 2 years after this one.
How far does that put us off our mark in terms of predictions in general, if you had to guess? Because I'm sure you work with Christy to figure out, you have a set budget for these things, so is it moderately over, or are we tripling our?
Well, so just, and Chris and I can both speak to this, but we have a repair and replacement budget that we take a look at the cost of each item that goes in for technology, and I update that list yearly, because again, I was going through some paperwork last week. I found the purchase of some Samsung Chromebooks from 2014. They were $165 a piece. We're averaging, over $350 a piece or around that for these. So just the inflation over time, right?
Yeah.
So what we do yearly and around this time of year is we look at all of those items and price it as close as we can to the current pricing. And that goes into the model that puts money aside for our repair and replacement budget so that we can look at, okay, from today, if in 8 years or 10 years when we need to replace these, we should be putting enough in the piggy bank to be able to make that purchase. Could we do it all at once? We might be able to do that, but that impacts our overall general fund more by doing it on one big giant purchase. So instead of doing $1 million purchase or close to $1 million purchase with this, we're going to break it up over a 3-year term,
That is the phased roll in.
Correct.
And I understand, as with like smartphones and whatnot, there's no amount of repair you can do to get it to accept a new OS if the publisher designs it so. No, I get it. Between Google and the state of California, they were putting us in between a rock and a hard place, so.
I'd also like to chime in as well on the tech repair replace budget, and I'm sure that, it's just a general board reminder that over the last several years, the board and the fiscal team has been putting away money in this repair replace budget to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars each year to plan for these purchases too. So this is a planned purchase, happened a little sooner than we wanted to, but it's necessary at this time to bring it forward. But we do have the funds in those accounts that we've been planning for over the next several years.
And I would just add that part of this purchase would have been as of July 1, so we were already planning for that, we're just moving it up 6 months. And we have been estimating the cost to be a little bit higher, so we were budgeting more around $400 a unit, so we're a little on the good side of that as well, so.
And then I'll chime in as well.
Keep talking, you guys are just making this better and better.
Just giving you, just giving you some perspective from other districts. So when schools started to move heavily into technology and one-to-one devices, a lot of districts bought all their devices all at one time. So fast forward a few years, they all crap out at the same time, and that's a huge expense. So there was definitely a lot of thought and planning between Brian, his team, Jim, fiscal, and the board in years past to make sure all of this was a phased roll in and a phased roll out, so it does seem like a big price tag all at once, but this is actually very well thought out and planned out, and I've been in other districts, I wasn't part of any of the decision making, but when I was at a brand new high school, so everything was brand new, and then 5 years later, everything was dying, and we didn't have the money. So this is kind of how you have to do it, is map these out, and getting, 8, 9, 10 years out of these devices, that was unheard of just a few years ago, like 5 was the max, so, we are getting, some good lifespan out of these.
Thank you, Brian. That's helpful to hear how it all comes together when we make these decisions and recommendations. Definitely not suspicious, just curious, so it's helpful to know.
And as you can see, it's reflective of it's a group decision, we all have this conversation together, it's a good team to be working with.
It's first time I've seen a big tech purchase besides the updates over the summer, so I'm good with this. Anyone else? Or do I kind of make a motion this juncture?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I make a motion to approve item 7 point, okay, I already jump ahead for the second one. 7.3, approval of student device update to the tune of $277,857.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Haynes, a second by Board Member Balcom, all in favor? Aye. Okay, moving to 7.4, network equipment.
Yeah, so this one's much smaller in comparison, but it's also necessary with updating our equipment. Tonight I bring you a proposal to purchase a new current, our district core switch. That is the main switch that all of our data runs through, just across the way. I won't give out any secrets where it's at, it's a top secret location. The last time we updated that device was 2016, so it is definitely at the end of its life. One of the other things too is, as Brian mentioned with the purchase of network equipment, we have been upgrading our network equipment to get faster and greater amounts of data through our hub and out to our classrooms. The core switch that we currently have actually limits and throttles down because it won't handle what we've now updated to. And so updating that core switch will actually allow us to get faster speeds and more data out to our classrooms. And it's 10 years old and it's time to update it. The other item that's in this request is for wireless access points. Those are the access points that are actually going to our classrooms. They transfer our wireless data down to our student devices, our teacher devices. These that are on the list are aging and they will also be affected by our upgrade because they are now older devices that won't be able to handle the same speeds. So the great news with these items that they are under our E-rate funding. So as in the past, when I brought items before the board for E-rate, that number is based, the amount of reimbursement that we get from the feds, in this case, would be based on our free and reduced lunch count. And so right now, it being at 40%, the translation is, we pay 40 cents on the dollar. So in this case, the total cost of the project is $66,000, but what's due to Dry Creek, should this be approved, would be $26,401.15. And in this process of going through E-rate, it's very regulated and there's a tight process you have to go through to apply and it has to go out to bid. So these items did go out to public bid. We did select CDWG as our approved as the vendor. And we've worked with them many times before. They're the giant warehouse of all tech products across the country, but they do have best pricing in this case. And so if there's not any questions, I'm asking for an approval for the purchase of the core switch and the wireless access points.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a new core switch and wireless access points.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Walker and a second by Board Member Haynes, all in favor, except for, I just noticed.
John is indisposed.
I have some questions to fill the time if you want. We need to wait for John?
We could just,
We'll go without them, yeah.
Okay,
all in favor?
Aye.
So 4-0 with the temporary absence of Board Member Fenske.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to 7.5, the California Healthy Youth Act. Do we have any public comment on this one?
Yes, we have one.
Did you want to do board comment first and then go into this? Public comment. Do you
Do you want them to go first?
Let's hear, Megan, let's do your presentation first and then we'll. Okay.
Okay,
Good evening. Tonight I'm
We voted to add more students.
Tonight I'm presenting an update to our sexual health instructional materials. This update reflects both a state required curriculum alignment and prior board direction and has been carried out in accordance with the district's adopted policies and procedures for instructional materials. Before I begin, I would like to thank the members of our review committee, some of you who are here tonight. Thank you for your thoughtful contribution to this process. We appreciate you, your professionalism, and your time and effort, so thank you. Alright, so there's two main reasons for tonight's presentation. First, the California Healthy Youth Act was updated to include additional required instruction related to the menstrual cycle. Curriculum publishers, including Positive Prevention Plus, released updated editions to remain compliant with this law. Second, the board directed staff to explore the use of a supplemental video illustrating stages of fetal development to support the instruction. This presentation reflects staff carrying out both requirements, the legal mandate and the board's direction within our district's adopted policies. So to clarify, this is not a new curriculum adoption, this is an updated edition of a curriculum already approved by the board along with a supplemental resource. This slide outlines the timeline used to ensure the review process was deliberate, transparent, and policy aligned. The committee was formed in September 2025. They reviewed materials through November. Community members were given the opportunity to review and provide feedback to both the curriculum and the 5 videos in December. The committee reviewed all public input before developing a final recommendation, which is being brought to the board tonight. Training and implementation would occur in spring 2026 pending board approval. So in alignment with board policy and administrative regulation 6161.1, staff convened an instructional materials review committee to evaluate both the updated curriculum and potential supplemental resources. The committee included a classroom teacher from each site that has taught and will teach Positive Prevention Plus, a principal, an instructional coach familiar with the California Healthy Youth Act, and a registered school nurse, ensuring instructional, developmental, and health perspectives were represented. The committee reviewed the 2025 edition of Positive Prevention Plus and 5 fetal development videos. As part of the review process, staff also conducted external due diligence. This included outreach to medical institutions for guidance on medically accurate and age-appropriate instructional resources. Through this process, staff were directed towards academically recognized resources commonly used in educational settings. A regional healthcare provider, Sutter Health, identified the Britannica fetal development video as a medically accurate and appropriate option for school-based instruction. All materials under consideration were made available for public review during the month of December, and all community feedback was reviewed by the committee prior to developing a final recommendation. In addition, consistent with board policy 6161.11, the supplemental video is intended to enrich and support the board adopted curriculum and does not replace the core instructional materials. Okay, so pending board approval tonight, next steps will include teacher training on the updated 2025 materials, followed by implementation later this spring. Consistent with the California Healthy Youth Act, parents and guardians will continue to receive advanced written notice of when sexual health instruction will be provided. As required by law, parents have the right to review instructional materials in advance and may opt their child out of any or all portions of the sexual health curriculum. In Dry Creek, we provide notice well in advance of instruction, encourage families to preview materials and work directly with parents to ensure their rights are respected. So we had some feedback, and community feedback demonstrated strong interest in the selection of a supplemental fetal development video, with significantly more feedback on the videos than on the core curriculum update. The Baby Olivia video generated the highest volume of feedback and the most disproportionate level of negative response, with concerns focused on perceived bias, emotional framing, and medical inaccuracy. In contrast, the Britannica video received the most consistent positive feedback across respondents, frequently described as neutral, credible, and appropriate for a public school setting. Overall feedback informed the committee's recommendation to select instructional resources that align with district criteria for accuracy, age appropriateness, and instructional purpose. A recommendation based on state law, board policy, committee review, and community input. Staff is recommending approval to implement the 2025 version of the student booklet and teacher materials of the currently adopted Positive Prevention Plus Sexual Health curriculum, which includes the additional required instruction related to the menstrual cycle, and to adopt the Britannica fetal development video as a supplemental video.
And public comment, please?
Yes, we have Carolyn Brown.
Good evening again. I am here to support the adoption of the updated 2025 Positive Prevention Plus curriculum and the recommended supplemental instructional video by Britannica. This recommendation matters because it reflects careful adherence to established district curriculum adoption and review policies, as well as our shared expectation for educational integrity. The California Healthy Youth Act, in effect since January 1st, 2016, requires comprehensive sexual health and HIV prevention education for students in grades 7 through 12. The law is explicit. Instruction must be medically accurate, unbiased, age-appropriate, and comprehensive. It must help students understand adolescent development, relationships, reproductive health, while building skills for positive, healthy, and safe decision-making. The updated Positive Prevention Plus curriculum meets these legal and educational requirements and reflects current medical standards and best instructional practices. Its recommendation follows the district's established review process, which exists to ensure curriculum decisions are grounded in law, research, and professional expertise, not personal beliefs or political pressure. At the direction of this board, the committee also conducted a formal review of supplemental instructional videos illustrating fetal development. This review followed the same district policies and legal standards that apply to all instructional material. The Britannica video was recommended because it's medically accurate, age appropriate, and instructionally appropriate. Other videos considered were not recommended because they did not meet one or more of these required legal or educational criteria. It is important to emphasize that the recommended video is intended to supplement, not replace, the adopted curriculum, providing factual visual context within a comprehensive, standards-aligned program. Throughout this process, our collective community voices were clear. We expect all curriculum used in our district, core or supplemental, to be medically accurate, to meet established legal and educational standards. That expectation applies equally to every resource brought forward for consideration. Adopting these recommendations affirms the board's commitment to policy-driven governance, transparency, and student-centered decision-making. It reinforces trust that curriculum decisions are made carefully, lawfully, and in the best interest of students. I urge the board to adopt the updated 2025 Positive Prevention Plus curriculum and the recommended Britannica supplemental video. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Okay, so,
A couple comments. First, I'd like to ask Megan, her opinion, how was this Britannica video superior to the Baby Olivia video?
I don't know that it was superior, but it was the one that met the California Healthy Youth Act requirements the best, and that was one the committee voted on or consensus on.
Consensus. Yeah, so I guess my comment, because I did read through all the comments that were sent in, and I feel that the people who sent in comments were not representative of the community as a whole. The people who are more interested in scientific accuracy, were not motivated, I guess, to put in a bunch of comments. And one group was motivated to put in a bunch of kind of a barrage of comments to represent one point of view. The Baby Olivia video, every sentence in that video has scientific consensus and scientific backing from reputable sources, including National Geographic and Planned Parenthood and everything else. And so there's no question that the scientific accuracy of the video is accurate. And also the quality of the video is just so much better than the Britannica video. the Botanica video seems to me something from my childhood, to be honest with you, and I can't help but feel the Baby Olivia video was not accepted for reasons other than science or quality, and I just have a problem with that. Just wanna get another issue I have that I'd like to discuss a little bit, kind of a side issue, is how children who opt out of this, I just have from pretty reliable feedback that the kids who decide not to go to the training are this part of the class from the parents. There's one group of parents in Dry Creek who tend to not have their children do it. Ukrainian, to be honest with you, but I could be wrong, but that's the feedback I got. But the thing is, they went to the office or were forced to kind of sit in a very stale location, and they felt they were being punished for their parents opting out of participating. And so hopefully you could address that so where it's not a punishment for them not to, because some people have moral objections or whatever for this. And so I'd like to kind of become more aware of that, maybe with the scheduling and, let them go to the library and give them books to read or something like that. But I've heard different stories a couple times about that. So anyway, let me pass it on for more discussion.
Well, I was gonna say, I met with Megan and had inquired as to if there was a differentiation between parents who emailed and community members who have, no children in the school district, and she was unable to. And my concern is that there's more feedback against the Baby Olivia video because I saw the call to action from a lot of groups that said, please bombard Dry Creek with negative feedback. We can't have this video in the school. So for me to look at the commentary and see that it's overwhelmingly in one direction, I question the validity of that because I cannot actually confidently say that it represents the parents of our school. And I piggyback on what John says. I think when we had videos that were brought to the board, with the suggestion of having alternatives to preview, we'll just go back to AI. We're living in a time when AI technology is amazing, and the videos that people are creating out there are incredible. And to bring forth videos that really do feel like I saw this when I was in school in 1982 or whatever. It's just they're 2D, they're uninteresting, they're boring, they're uninspiring, and there's nothing there that just makes me, even as just an adult having to watch it both with sound and without sound, it's so severely lacking. And in a time when we have technology at our fingertips to produce something that would be so much more visually appealing, of a depiction of conception to birth, every video provided was just subpar in my opinion. The other issue that I take is that it is true, the gynecologists, board recognized gynecologists, they reviewed the video, they participated in the Baby Olivia video. It is accurate. It is a supplemental video. We're not, this is not about replacing anything. This is something that we wanted to bring in. But to suggest that, that it's not medically accurate would be inaccurate. And finally, I think the reason why that there's such a pushback on this from the community is because of one watermark. If this was presented to anybody with no watermark of who produced it and no information behind it, but just a beautiful depiction of life in the womb, I think the response might have been different. So that's my comment on the video. It's a little disappointing because, I read the feedback and I don't think it's entirely representative of our parents. I do have one question that does not pertain to the video unless somebody wants to comment on the video.
I have comments about several videos.
Okay, go ahead. I'll save this comment for.
Tracy, you want to say first? Ladies first.
I was gonna comment on the process that was used for this curriculum review. I really appreciate Megan's leadership and the committee's leadership in using a district adopted policy in taking community feedback. I really trust and respect our teachers and our committee members who are part of this process. They are educators, they have been highly trained to look at curriculum that is developmentally appropriate. So I really value their feedback, I value the time that they spent. And I really think that as a board, we need to take that into perspective, that this was a process. It is one of those things that we learned in our governance training of the little bowls and the outer bowls. And this is a process that we did ask our committee to use and to bring forward so that we're not micromanaging what supplemental materials are being used in the classroom, that we're really looking at our community for feedback, we're looking at our educators who are trained professionals, who are qualified, and we're following our superintendent's recommendation of involving staff and input. We're not micromanaging, or we're not looking at adding supplemental curriculum because we think it's the best or the right thing. If every single board member started adding videos or suggesting or recommending supplemental curriculum, we would have to extend the school day. So I think we really need to follow our district policy and our process and respect and trust the committee and our staff who went forward and they took this and they came forward with the recommendation. So my comments are about the process itself. I'm not gonna go into details about the videos because I think that was the job and the role of the committee. And they have spoken to us, they have given us a recommendation.
I would like to kind of echo that a little bit. I actually, just as someone with a kid that's about to go through this curriculum, my first and foremost, any sexual education, health type of education she's gonna get, I'm gonna be the primary on that. That's something I've taken, a lot of steps to acquaint myself with and the medical and physical processes that are involved in that. I like the Baby Olivia video. It hits on a lot of good emotional levels. I think the visuals are great and the information presented is, I thought it was pretty good. I'm not gonna split hairs on little pieces. I thought the Botanical video was also good. It had good visuals. It was straight to the point. It's short and sweet, just long enough to keep the attention of an 8th grader. I, like, as Tracy was saying, I'm not gonna delve into that piece too much because, I trust that the committee did a thorough enough job of vetting through that, said that that particular video met the requirements the most as well as other points of the curriculum. And I looked over the curriculum addendums and again, there's some pieces of it that, okay, I'm gonna go through that more with my child. Or, if there was a topic I saw that was objectionable, maybe I would pull her out of that lesson. So I'm glad we have that option. But I want to just continue to emphasize the importance of trusting our professional staff to review this material from sex ed to math to language arts and social studies. And ensure that we can keep that cohesion because we're going to be leaning on them to do a lot in the next coming years. So thank you.
So there's two different pieces going on with this item. Number one, obviously, is to approve the updated curriculum for the Positive Prevention Plus. And I have a question about that. Is the only addition in the update, the addition of the state required menstrual content? They generally make other updates as well, do you know?
That is the current update with the sexual or the menstrual health?
Yeah.
That's
the main thing they added.
yes.
And we're behind, we don't have that in. We have to bring it up to speed with California law, so
Yes.
that's a piece too but as far as other lessons or modules, that's the only new module in this.
As far as I know, yeah, they move them around a little bit and they might split some, like from the old one, they might have had two topics clumped in one chapter and so they split them apart.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of new, other than the menstrual health, there's not a ton of new stuff in the
Yeah.
2025 that's composed to right now, we have the 2018.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not like the committee did a side-by-side comparison, but just in the last day, board president brought up some things. I know she's been looking into it, I was looking into it, Meg was looking into it. And there's a version in between the one we currently use and this one. So there might have been some slight iterative changes in that one. That one might look more like this one, but we're doing basically a 7-year jump. So yeah, a lot of it's been reorganized. There are things that have clearly been enhanced. There's stuff that we found that it's just it's mentioned in the glossary and defined, but not anywhere in the curriculum. And now there's some stuff that's in the curriculum that could be problematic for certain families. The visuals have changed, the workbook's been enhanced. I know John had initially brought up some concerns about how abortion was presented in the original workbook. That is now different. So it's not like based on any of our feedback or input, but so yeah, I mean, just as you can imagine, when an edition has been updated now twice since we've seen it, things are, enhanced, updated.
For the community, the physical copy is always available for them to go and review if they have interest before their kid goes through the curriculum, right?
Yes, they can go to the school site, or we will have a copy here as well.
Oh, the school site has it too.
Well, when we adopt it,
We have the
yeah.
current one, every school site has the current one at least. But
Okay.
yeah, but this would be,
Yes.
if we approve this, this is what's rolling out in the spring for all the students.
Yes, and they can always reach out and go, yeah.
And at any time during the school year, and that's a parent
Right, at any time,
notification that
yes.
any instructional materials are available anytime,
Right, I'm just
so,
kind of clarifying that
Yeah.
for
yes, of
one
course.
of
And
those.
because of the maybe small nuances and slight changes or reshuffling, instead of just saying, oh, we're gonna use the new version, that's why we went through this whole process of really looking at it, giving parents the opportunity to review it and give input, just like we would a normal adoption.
Right.
This is actually just an update of a version of something that's already adopted.
Yeah.
But we went through the whole process anyway,
Mhm.
so that, because this is a sensitive topic, right? There's a lot of personal feelings, beliefs, et cetera around this. Let's just put it out there and let everyone see it and give input and know what their students are going to be taught, right? And then they're notified multiple times during the year, parent notification at the beginning of the year, but like Gina and I talked about, I'm not sure how many people read the handbook and all the notifications when they're doing the enrollment, so then we do an additional notification ahead of the teaching so that everyone's clear about what's happening and when, because we want to respect those personal beliefs and values and give the opportunity. If they don't want their student to participate, then let's give that opportunity and make sure that that's an awareness.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I think it's important to note because the state requires by law that a lot of these issues get presented. In public education, we don't get to opt in as a district about what we can and can't have because it's state mandated. There's some nuances there. But I do like, if it's the communication, like focus area, strengthen community partnership through timely and ongoing communication that encourages collaboration and enhances trust. I think that is a good example of how we encourage collaboration and we enhance trust by doing a good job of that. So I'm thankful for that. In the community feedback about the curriculum, there's different people have different things, according to their value systems, but there was quite a bit of feedback about lesson 7 on gender and sexual diversity, something that parents were saying. Specifically, they were foreshadowing that they're not gonna have their kids sit through that lesson. To John's point, when we're opting out of things, are we opting out of the curriculum as an entirety, or are we opting out of different modules?
Whatever you choose.
We can do either one.
Yeah, they could write, I would like my child to participate in sections 1 through 6, but not 9 and 12 or whatever, and the teachers will make those accommodations.
Okay, I think your mic was off, but just in case someone goes back, they can
Yes.
opt out of whatever module they choose
Yes.
according to their preferences for
Sure.
what they wanna expose their kid to, so they can guide those conversations at home according to their values.
Yes, I'm curious about, is this over several days or like an afternoon once a week? Or,
Yeah.
how is this scheduled?
It would be, a couple weeks worth of, it's taught in the science class, that's in science, so during the science teacher's time. So they'll teach it over a couple of weeks during that hour-ish that they have.
And so we'll have the parents will have the schedule saying they're gonna be teaching this, this, and this.
No, it would be, they would, a teacher would see ahead of time, they would come in,
Okay.
review and say, I don't want my child to receive less than 2 and 7, I opt my child out from lessons 2 and 7, here you go, teacher would say, okay, I'm teaching lesson 2, please take your book, go to the library, not sit in the office, go to the library and
I've actually been told the office where they just sit there and they feel like they're being punished, so we don't want that.
No.
Okay,
we
thank
don't
you.
want that.
That's helpful, I think it's good, and part of the communication, if we're really especially clear about that by module, and then for parents to view that from home without having to go on campus, would they be able to access the preview material at that juncture or not?
No, they cannot get to it online, parents would have to come in person to review
So they don't know we won't be able to tell them what modules
unless they go
by
to
title,
look at
so
it.
they kinda
Yeah.
have to be proactive to figure out what they want.
So yes and no, so if you, on the curriculum review, if we have a page on our website where we put all these things, the publisher did allow us to display, and if you go to the website, it'll show you the title page of every module. So you can see every lesson and the title and what's included and what's the terms.
It's got the content, objectives, materials, and terms, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see that, but you're not seeing like the teacher's edition, like you'd have to come and see that.
And the kids' workbook pages, et cetera, that's all copyrighted, they're not gonna put that online. Cause I tried to find some of that, just, so just wanna emphasize for parents, if they're concerned about what their kids are gonna get out of this, they need to go to this to understand what's gonna be offered as a general menu. If they have specific questions, they can go to any campus they want to look at the material.
Or even call the teacher and the teacher would be happy to answer, or the principal would be happy to answer like what's in this,
Yeah.
and they could go through and explain the pages that would be covered and what would be covered more in depth than just that paper.
Great, that's good. I'm just, trying to clarify that for parents. I think that's-
At any time.
Can I
And
touch
I
on
think
what,
that is important because how do you know, if you wanna opt your kid out of something, how do you know if you don't know what's being taught? So I mean, that's definitely, I think, an area that we can, take another look at and look at we looked at our notification from last year that needs to be updated. It's pretty general, it's just like sex as the topic, so, unless you're, an active parent who really looks into it, do you know every little thing that's being taught? Probably not. So that's definitely something that I've heard just in talking with individual board members. That's something we could definitely look to
That'd be nice.
enhance. Now, where's the balance? We're not detailing every little thing, but not being so general, so parents actually can have informed
That's a good idea.
But I
Why can't
think
we
that-
detail every little thing? I guess is the question I have. Can't you put a PDF of
Well, so
pages?
one of the
Well,
reasons they don't
send
put
the
the full curriculum on for people to review is because we also don't want children, students to look at it before, so they can see what's being taught, but we don't want them looking at it at home before an adult is, a teacher is teaching it with them.
That's a good point.
well, I'm gonna just kind of touch on what Sarah was saying and what Brian was saying and then what Cliff interjected on in terms of messaging and letting parents know exactly what's coming out there. I think that the biggest part of this is that parents trust the district so that and I think this is partly why they don't say, okay, I need to go in and actually see what is being taught. Because there's a lot of trust there. And I think that if there were more parents who actually took the time to actually look at the material, they might be surprised by what they find. And I think it would be, if this is the curriculum that we're using, it's better to give more information than less. A more informed individual is better than having somebody that you're just kind of stringing along saying, this is the general topic that we're gonna be discussing. So I think that's pretty important. Question though, do we give students a list of community resources as a handout for them as part of this curriculum, or have we?
I can't speak on if we have, I don't know the answer to that, but as far as if we do moving forward, that's only what's in the student handbook or what's in the student workbook is what they receive.
And it had been mentioned to me that and previously that there were text message features that were part of the program, the curriculum. Is that something that is a part of this?
What do you mean?
I wasn't really sure what she meant, but she said that there was a text messaging feature that was provided by Positive Prevention where you could, I don't know if it was a QR code or something that you could go to get, other supplemental material. Or maybe to contact an outside organization, I'm not sure. That's why I'm just asking, because I was just curious, I hadn't heard that before.
I know that there's like the teacher slides that go along with what is being taught in the book, so maybe they're choosing to use that.
In years past, there was initially, when this first started, and that was like a long time ago, so I'm trying to recollect exactly what the feature was. There was a QR code or, I don't know, something to that effect. To my knowledge, we haven't used that or implemented that in years. I'm looking at the teachers and they're shaking their head no, yeah. We haven't done that in years and years, yeah. But initially, when all this started and the law came out and all the publishers were doing that and positive prevention came out, I do recall something to that effect with additional resources. So whoever you talked to was
That's correct, but
recollecting
it's just
something,
not
yes.
something that's utilized
Yeah.
anymore.
Since we're talking about years past, I wanted to chime in that I do remember years and years ago, when we would have a parent night, and so that came up as well. Just before, in fifth grade, so before the students were going to take part in this curriculum, there would be some type of parent night at the school or at a school. And it was probably one of the most heavily attended events ever. And we would joke with the community about how you better save your babysitter because we're gonna have the parent, sex ed night. And so I'm not sure if the district still does that or not, but it is, I do believe with some of my colleagues here that, always expecting our parents or our families to go online or seek out the information. I think if we can be as proactive as we possibly can and say, hey, you're invited to, and if only 2 people show up like they did to our technology night or something, at least we're being proactive with sharing that information. And sometimes people wanna come with a neighbor or with a friend and then talk about it afterwards, what are you gonna do as part of your family values or your family commitment. So just since we were talking about years past and what had happened previously and concerns of parents and how to involve community, I thought I'd add that in.
Well, I would kind of like to redirect us back to the video, because I'm looking at the agenda item and I think there are really just 2, and I don't know if we can separate this out, to approve curriculum versus video, or if it has to all be the same, all under one umbrella, because I think in retrospect, I should have noticed this and said we should probably separate the 2 out for separate votes.
The board can do that.
So I think maybe we should
Yeah, you can
tackle,
have 2 different votes.
maybe tackle the video first and what supplemental video that we prefer.
Would that delay the inception of the curriculum? And like the process of training and all the other things we need to do?
I'm not sure I understand the question. It
So-
sounds like you want to split the vote into 2. It doesn't sound like you're postponing anything. So assuming, I guess, so the question is if the board agrees on the video but doesn't agree on updating the curriculum, would that prevent us from moving forward? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I think let's take the
Opposite.
curriculum, let's take the curriculum first, maybe,
I'd like to take the
because that's
video, if you don't mind, I'd like to take the video first.
You do.
I'd like to, kind of listening, so board policy 61.1 allows for these small additions for appropriateness for different sides. I thought the 3-minute video that I wanted, or a 3-minute video kind of showing the miracle of creation was totally appropriate to put into this curriculum, I guess, what I'm saying. So it is an appropriate and right thing to do, just in this spirit of presenting a broad spectrum of knowledge and viewpoints kind of thing. So you just want completeness. And we can't talk about how great electric cars are and for the air quality without looking at the mining cost and the environmental cost. It's basically just give a full picture to the kids. As far as the video goes, I just wish there's another video besides the technical one. It's just like,
Yeah, I'll chime in real quick, having a chance to talk about the videos. So I think one of the things, and it's been brought up what the parameters are for curriculum. It has to be unbiased and medically accurate. And I think in this day and age, it's really hard to say that anything's unbiased. I mean, the state of California is constantly biased about what they're prescribing, even for the sexual health curriculum we're dealing with right now. So I don't know how helpful the thing. I mean, I really appreciate, Megan, I think you guys did a good job getting a nice smattering of the 5. As you watched them, they all have different nuances, but none of them were blatantly biased in any way, shape, or form. I think, but the question is Sutter Health a non-biased source? I don't know, you could debate that. Is Britannica a non-biased source? You could debate that. Some people, some of these videos leave way too much out that might, have you realize this is a human baby and it's got some value to it because they're so sterile. I think the Britannica video is very sterile. I mean, is it scientific? Yes. It seems like it's painstakingly trying to not say anything too positive about the whole process or babies in general, which strikes me as a bit of bias. To me, of all the videos, and even from a pushback standpoint in the comments, the Dandelion video was the closest one to something that I would call middle of the road. I think we're trying to strike a balance in public education of something that is unbiased. It's middle of the road, it's sane, it's safe, it's neutral. And so in that regard, the spirit of all of us, I think we're saying none of these 5 videos is perfect and we wish that there was something better. I think that's something we could all say. So if I realize that the process is lengthy, the team put in a lot of time though. So I'm not necessarily suggesting we go back and find another 5 videos or we have AI make us a video because who knows what kind of freestyling AI does in the gap of knowledge, to fill in the blanks. So I do think it's important. I think, this board, there's, 2 of us who will be here, a couple years from now, there's 3 seats open. So the decision in how we choose to approach this and follow the policies regarding curriculum, sets a precedent that I'm worried about in the future. Other boards, how they might steward decisions based on their priorities and goals. And so I don't want to open the door to one-upsmanship amongst biases. So I think neutrality is something we should pursue here because any parent is gonna any parent who's concerned is gonna immediately go to try to cite the source of the video and see what is this video trying to teach my children. So it has to have, to me, a true feeling of non-bias, but also try to communicate the things we want it to communicate. In my understanding, John, from your perspective, the curriculum would have benefited from a depiction of fetal development in the womb. It was little thumbnail pictures and not describing the very complex development of human embryos was kind of myopic and it could stand some expansion. So that was kind of the spirit of the request, is that we do that. I mean, the Britannica video does that at the most base level, and so I'm not gonna critique that it doesn't. I do just wish that there was a video that had a little more warmth or expansion, and again, I think the Dandelion video did a much better job of blending that. But there's, all these comments reflect a lot of different biases, and so that's the problem. And so here we are. I know the committee was picked and we trust our teachers, but even our teachers, they all, at the end of the day, we all have biases and perspectives, and so none of us are neutral. So all that to say, I hope we do split it out. I mean, I think we have to approve the sexual health curriculum tonight for the law and to get it rolled out and bought by the time the students come across it. There's lots I don't like in the sexual health curriculum, there's lots I can't help about it. So there's that, and then secondarily the video. If you're just walking away with what kids are gonna take home, when they see this video, I think they're gonna see that babies don't come from storks. They grow and develop. It's interesting, it's not look who's talking, so it's not irreverent, it's
You just dated yourself.
if we could have look who's talking, then I'd vote on that tonight, but I think it's good enough for me, the Britannica video is, because if we walk out going, we're gonna have no depiction of fetal development, because we can't agree, or we're gonna have some depiction of fetal development, what kids are gonna walk out with is some perspective that babies are in there, growing and doing baby things, and then,
Yeah, well, I mean, you are right, neutrality is a myth. And even when you're looking at the Britannica video, they refer to the fetus as a foreign organism. So, that right there to me is, I find that a little offensive.
I noticed that.
That was kind of hard not to, it just kind of was like, red flag. My own personal opinion is, backing up for my opinion. I went on YouTube and there are other videos. And if we can't vote on a video tonight, I would prefer looking for something that is better quality. I personally prefer the Baby Olivia video, but I went on YouTube and there are videos out there that are really nice, that are also just, visually appealing and whatnot, but I just feel like what we were presented with was the old school, just, oh my gosh, I can't sit through this again. It's just, I
I will say
mean,
that the high school video, if you watched, have you
The
seen high
National
school?
Geographic.
I think it's from the 80s. I mean, I went and watched
It totally is.
I like it though. It's got enough to do the job. And so
It is
I'm not gonna
dating.
gripe
42
about
minutes long, it's
video quality. No, I'm just saying, but I mean, talk about like the standard we're setting here. They're gonna go from 8th grade, whatever video we show.
Okay, look,
to a
it goes
video
like
from
this,
then.
what are kids doing when they go home after school? They are playing video games. And the video games that they are playing have the most amazing quality. It's so realistic. Why are we telling them, hey, go home and look at these beautiful videos and play these great games, but we're gonna give you something that's just outdated and ugly?
That's not a concern for me. I mean, we got sex ed on a projector screen, one slide at a time when I was in school.
Yeah.
So what's before you, if you split these two items out, what's before you is one, voting on whether or not to approve the recommendation by the committee to adopt the supplemental video Britannica. So you're basically either gonna take action on that or you're not. If the board decides not to and wants to redirect us to go and look at other potential videos and give us maybe more specific parameters as far as video quality or 3D or whatever, like that would be different direction. So it's, what's before you is either approving or not the recommendation of that committee, that'd be one thing. Second would be either approving or not the recommendation to implement the newest version of Positive Prevention Plus. So if the board chooses, if there's not motions or the vote doesn't pass for either of those, then we would obviously have to
Bring it back.
go back to the drawing board and figure it out.
But going back to the drawing board is not bringing it up to the next meeting, it's going through the whole process again for the video and everything else.
The committee could get together and do all of that work before the next meeting, that would be not,
No, we'd have to
acceptable
punt,
to
I mean,
ask
even
the
until
committee
next
to do that.
year's health curriculum potentially, and so, I mean, if we did, let's say we approved the Britannica video tonight, but then somehow through the process, some other amazing videos get brought up and brought to our attention, maybe this time next year, could we bring, if it's the will of the board to revisit it, would it be possible to update that video in terms of, saying this video was a little anemic, this video is better, and we could update that in terms of a recommendation? Well, we could go through the process again and see what the committee would say, with, maybe seeing what the wonderful world technology can bring to bear in the next couple of years.
So, I mean, yes and no, I mean, it's a little complicated, so if we go back to the whole bowls and roles and all that kind of stuff, so we have curriculum, I know this is something that the board brought, if the board hadn't brought this, we wouldn't have been looking at videos, so I do understand that. And I think our staff does as well. If the board chose to adopt this supplemental video tonight and then later in the future wanted some reconsideration, that would be something that the committee would have to do again, and I guess what we would need then is more specific parameters, like what exactly, cause I think what the direction we were given was, a video that depicted fetal development in a more, modern way than just a 2D drawing in a workbook. We didn't really get into the aesthetics or how high quality or not the video was. And you saw differences in them, and some of them are old and some of them are sterile and some of them are more personified, and there were definitely a variety. So if this was something the board wanted us to revisit in the future, that's something we could. But I would definitely want more parameters, more specific info on what you wanted the committee to look at. So, and we'll have some feedback on doing this for the first time.
Right, and I think I was under the assumption that we set the bar of what we were looking for. And I think that's the issue. It's like just the videos were kind of beneath that bar.
Okay, I will say, I don't know if the bar was as clear as.
I think the direction was, we'd like a video that depicts prenatal development, and so I think that, and you all went to some great sources to find some good options, and so I got no qualms with that process. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, is that since there's no perfect video at this juncture, we can either vote this particular video in now to give a depiction of prenatal development, Or we can just say, let's just revisit this further down the road where we're not gonna exhaust countless committees with our particular requests.
I think just looking at just the baseline, does it do what it needs to do, what's the audience? And whether we like the particular style or not, I'm not sure it's as relevant in this case. Did the committee do their job? I believe so. Did we give the public enough time to review it? They had a month to do so. There's been 90 days of review on this. I don't feel like my preference for the video is relevant in this case. Like I said, I do like the Baby Olivia video, but I believe the one that the committee selected does its job. And per that, we should trust the process. And then if we want to introduce some other elements for future review by our committee process, then let's do so. But I'd be ready to go forward with what we've got. I'll make a motion to approve, how long have we been doing this? Item 7.5 as
Which part?
produced,
I think we
all
already
of
split
it.
it.
We're splitting it.
No, it's been, say the video, check the video.
Britannica video. Wait, is that what I'm supposed to say?
So probably just make this more clear. So we have a motion to approve the adoption of the supplemental fetal development video, Britannica. And that's basically what you're.
I'll make a motion to adopt the supplemental video as provided.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Board Member Walker and a second by Board Member Balcom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have 3 aye. All opposed?
No,
No. So we'll let the record reflect 3-2 on that. And then we can attack the curriculum portion next. I mean, I don't know if there's any more discussion. If not, there's something I will say about it before we vote.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be updated, I think it's a requirement, I think, like we discussed, we really love that parents have like a little bit more information of a menu of options for ways that their kids can tailor it to their personal family beliefs and concerns, so.
so can I ask a quick question of, I guess, Megan, in the curriculum? Was everything that we have, that the new curriculum, new workbook and everything, is that based on requirements from the state of California to put this in?
Yes.
So that we have no legal recourse, there's no other options out of this law requirement, is my question.
Yeah, that is correct. There are a lot of like checklists out there that make sure that your curriculum follows the law. And I've gone through those with this curriculum.
And we also have the agreement that we're gonna really have, when you opt out, the kids will be happy, and also it'll be much more
Well,
detailed when the kids, when the parents see
We'll improve
things.
the communication, that's noted.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Noted, yes, that's a better word, thank you.
So if nobody else has anything to say, I'm just gonna make a quick comment on it. And it's probably going to be somewhat unpopular with some people. But, you know, I met with Megan and I appreciate your time very much. And I met with Cliff and I spoke to him at length about a number of my concerns with the curriculum. And then I actually went home and I read the entire curriculum. And at that point, something dawned on me, and it made me ask the question, have any of you asked yourselves why you're here? Because I asked myself that, like, what was the point of being elected if we aren't really a voice for our parents and students, but what we are people who are relegated to doing the state's bidding, what they want. And there've been a number of times that, you know, people have come into this meeting accused us of being political when in actuality, everything about public school, including the sex ed curriculum, is political. It's like we pass a policy, something like the parental notification policy, which was very important. And what happens? The state doesn't like it, they pass a law, and now it's void. And now we're just supposed to accept it. And now we're at the point where we believe, with enough time now that has gone by, that it is the role of teachers to talk to other people's children about masturbation and role-playing gender swapping. And the state says you have no choice, that you have to teach this material. And then I ask myself again, why are we here? Because what I read goes beyond basic sex education. Do I think some of the information in there is useful? Yes, I do. But much of it goes too far, and especially when you think about the fact that these are children. This material is not meant for children. This is meant for a much older demographic. It is far more than basic sexual education and just telling kids what sexting is. And I have to also ask myself, or actually ask other people, other parents, how did we get to the point where parents are willing to relinquish the authority over their children to other people, to just put blind trust in a curriculum? And I'm not accusing anybody here of trying to deceive parents, because I know you're not. I've spoken at length with all of you, and I know that is not your motivation. But parents, when they send their kids to public school, they trust the public school, and they trust that a sex ed curriculum is going to try to convey the beliefs or, you know, the lessons that they would want their children to have. Not something that I just consider to be outside of what schools should be involved with. I seriously doubt that most of the parents in the district have taken the time to look at the curriculum. I mean, I'm pretty sure that most of us here, with the exception of myself, have not actually read it every single page. I read every single page. I went through the old curriculum. I read just about every single page. I think that if parents did that, they might ask themselves a question, and that might be, why am I allowing my kids to opt into this? You know, we've gotten to the point that, you know, most people don't read the curriculum or take the time to understand exactly what it is the state wants, but it's not what the state wants, it's what the state is demanding of us. I reviewed it, I read it, and regardless of what the state mandate is, I cannot in good conscience, as a parent, as somebody who represents parents, I cannot support this curriculum because if you read it and look over what's in there, it oversteps its bounds and it usurps the role of a parent. It's just another means of eroding the innocence of our children. And I think we know it does because you can see what is happening with our children all around us. We see it everywhere. Our kids are losing their innocence and they're being desensitized to everything of all sexual natures. And it's because we're doing things like saying, let's explain what masturbation is to you in your sex ed curriculum in middle school. And let's role play a little game about swapping genders. Because I read that section and I thought, I wonder how many parents know that's in there. These are subjects that our children do not need to be exposed to at this age, and we cannot keep making the same tired argument that the state says we have to do it, because not all parents are going to discuss some of these things at home, because that doesn't make it right. So this is not about not only protecting the authority of parents, but this is about protecting the innocence of children and placing the discussions back where they belong, which is in the home. And so that is my position. I cannot support this, so.
Jean, thank you for that. I did not have the opportunity, other than looking at my daughter's old workbook, as far as looking through this curriculum, so I'm kind of surprised that material is in there. And I guess that's the value of deliberation on the board, is sometimes you have to be open and be flexible. And my mind is open to being changed. I was just planning to vote for it because it's state law, but I can't. There's some of the things you mentioned I can't support. I have had so many emails from parents from all over the district just saying, I'm so glad you're on the board representing us, trusting us to look out for their kids, not realizing the limits we have in our power. And I think we're really limited in our power here, frankly.
We
The state
are.
is telling us what to do. But then again, you know, I'm not running for re-election, I don't really care if I ever re-elected again, I'm just gonna I have to sleep with myself tonight, I can't approve anything that robs children of their innocence to that extent. I had no idea that was in the curriculum, so I'm not gonna support this.
Quick question, are students receiving specific instruction on masturbation and gender swapping?
It explains what masturbation is in one paragraph, 3 sentences for male and then a couple for female in a separate one. And then as far as the gender swapping role play, I did not see that, I looked through it, so I would have to see what she is referring to.
Well, that's important, I think.
It's in there. I can almost read it to you verbatim from memory what it says.
So just to
I don't know what to do.
add some more here, so if the board decides not to approve this tonight, we're still teaching Positive Prevention Plus Edition 2018. So we'll have to figure out a way to supplement and add administration instruction, but like this doesn't take the curriculum away, we already have that curriculum, this is just updating the curriculum. And I do wanna be sensitive to the things that Jean is speaking about and found. In the current edition, the only mention of that word, masturbation, is in the glossary, and it's a brief definition.
It's also a paragraph, not just in the current one also has a small paragraph.
Okay, I didn't find that, but, and then in the 2025 one, on a section talking about, male erections, it is addressed there as well, and then in the female section. There were some public comments about that, there were 3 that were concerned that kids were being taught how to do it. If you saw the curriculum, I wouldn't say it's teaching or telling or encouraging anybody how to. It describes what it is and it gives it a name. And then again, I'll go back to, is that specific in what we tell parents is being taught or discussed? I can guarantee you, I don't think that word has ever been presented to parents that, hey, the topic of masturbation is gonna come up. So I guess that was what I was referring to earlier, like how specific do you get? And then also, the only, I guess the only out really is the fact that the state does allow parents to opt out. So there can be any part of the instruction, all of the instruction, just some of the instruction. I do agree with some of what's been said. I do believe this is better taught in the home. There's reasons why the state wants it to be taught, and we can argue over those. If you're waiting until your kid's in 8th grade to first have these conversations, if this is the first time a kid's got sex ed, then we failed entirely as a society and parent. I don't think kids in 8th grade are being taught this and then, going wild because of our instruction.
That's not what it's about.
So, I'm just saying, if parents do have concerns, they can definitely opt out, and we do have folks that do opt out.
So what I guess I'm hearing is, on those topics, we're essentially given the definitions of what those things are, but it's not providing instruction as to in-depth what they are, how to do it, and all the ins and outs, so to speak. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I have some clarification, the gender swap is in the one that we currently use, the 2018. There is an activity for that in the 2018, that is, as far as I know, as far as I've seen, I have not seen that in the 2025 version. The discussion on masturbation that comes up in the classrooms with teachers when they're teaching this, it comes up, so the teachers are going to address it when it comes up in the classroom. In the 2025 version, it's already there, so it's addressed preemptively in the curriculum. So it is being addressed in 2018 because it comes up as questions. And that's where that gender swap thing that I think Jean was referring to, as opposed to the 2025 does not have that activity, and that's the one we're asking for.
It's
I
just,
will vote for this curriculum, just to make sure that activity is not in the classroom anymore.
And Jason, to answer your question about that, the student booklet does not have the definition and so forth.
Okay.
It's the teacher's edition that has that excerpt that says explain, it says explain, and then it gives the paragraph with the definition and what it means and that this is a private act, et cetera. But I do not believe that I saw that in the student edition.
In light of that,
Just
we
so
have to
you know,
recognize
I mean, he
the
was
teachers who
asking
teach
whether-
this curriculum are very brave people, because they have to have these conversations with kids, and a lot of them based on their personal views, they don't wanna have to be presenting any of this curriculum, but at least pieces of it, so it's even nuanced down to the classroom level, and the
I
teacher
can
level.
only imagine the giggling that would ensue if that word came up.
And
But,
yeah, and so I think in California, in public school, there's lots of things we don't like. I don't think that this is the place where we can, from this dais, where we can solve the issues and problems of the state. I think the state legislature is the one pushing the agendas. I get the moral dilemma, John, I share your moral dilemma about voting on this and improving it. 100%, I do not want this. I think the best we can do is encourage parents to opt out of stuff that they don't want their kids to be in. Right now, they have to be worried about, even now without any of this, I'm more concerned about what, one kid showing to another kid on his phone after school, at least this is a curriculum that's got some guardrails on it. And so culture in general, to the FBI conversation we had, to everything is just off the rails when it comes to all of this. So if you have concerns about this stuff, and your kids are in public school, people cannot put their kids in public school, because here in California, this is stuff we have to deal with in public school. It's questions my wife and I deal with all the time about public school, and so some people have their kids in private school, so they can avoid these things to try to steward the conversation better. It's not good for ADA, but that's a fact of the matter in terms of people and their choices. So I am loath to approve any curriculum, but to Cliff's point, if we don't approve this curriculum, there's already curriculum in place in the classroom that has some activities that have been amended in the 2025 edition, so.
It almost seems like the old this is not,
What's the lesser
the
of
question
two?
is,
Yeah.
the question is, the old curriculum doesn't seem any better than the new curriculum, or whatever your perspective is, so.
I mean,
And Megan, who's done it, I've sympathized with her, to be honest with you, thank you for all your
Megan's
work.
the ambassador of the
Yeah,
state's
the
will
thing is-
for our children either. I think our
Yeah, I
district has a
know.
pretty
So-
great mentality about most of these
So I'm leaning towards abstaining because I just don't like any of it, but then again, I have to make a decision, I guess.
Well,
because
our role is to approve curriculum based on state requirements, et cetera, and so we have to decide if we're gonna do it or not. People can vote how they want to, but I mean, this has to be decided tonight. We can't bump this.
Well, let's
because-
let's move along and
So-
make a motion or something.
Yeah, seeing
I'm
as,
confused, did we make a motion already to approve?
we're doing that next.
seeing as this is something the state's requiring and it's not changing really anything, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the rest of item 7.5.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Board Member Walker, a second by Board Member Balcom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No for me.
I'm kind of abstaining, I hate to be on the fence like this. I'll vote aye too,
So
it's not
4 yes, 1 no.
voting, anyway, I'll explain it. The 2018 wasn't any better.
They're both bad.
All right.
Okay.
All right, we're moving on to 7.6, resolution to authorize remuneration to Board Member Tracy Balcom for her absence.
Alright, I don't know if the board's done this before,
Many
but,
times.
okay, so you guys know what's going on here.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve remuneration for Tracy Balcom's absence.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Fenske, second by Board Member Walker. This is a roll call vote though, so
It's a resolution.
Board Member Gotham,
I'll abstain.
She needs to abstain.
what did you say, sorry?
Board Member Fenske,
Aye.
Board President Pagnoni,
Aye.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
And Trustee Haynes. I'm sorry, Trustee Haynes.
Yes,
was
aye.
loud enough. Thank you.
Okay, we are now moving on to 7.7, the approval of the hybrid governance training and leadership development proposal. Cliff, it's back.
It's back, but it's new and different, not the same. So after the discussion at the December meeting and hearing some of the concerns from the board, just the discussions about, leadership training, the cost, the compulsory nature of it, just quite a bit. I met with board members individually, talked to my team as well. I still, feel like there's a need and value with some of this governance training and coaching. However, hearing those concerns, I wanted to go back and kind of just look at what options were available, if any. I wanted to be respectful of the company that we've used before. I don't know if they would even kind of do a hybrid model and separate out the coaching from the in-person training, because that was definitely an interest. And in talking with folks, not everyone necessarily wanted to continue with the coaching. So rather than, it'd be a compulsory thing, I didn't know if the company, if that was part of their methodology, if they kind of offer those things as separate items, or if part of their whole package is, the coaching supports the in-person and they kind of need to go together. So I did meet with the two consultants and just said, they saw the meeting as well and heard the conversations, and I kind of said, I don't know if you guys change your model, your methodology, or if that's something you would even be into. And they did come up with kind of a revised scope of work, and so what's before you is kind of more of a menu option. I talked to each of the board members and my team, and right now, I think there'd probably be 4 of the 9 of us who would be interested in the coaching. So in this model for basically the next 4 months, is 2 calls per month for leadership coaching. So that obviously cuts down more than half the costs on that, since more than half of us wouldn't be doing it. And they felt like this was something that, it didn't necessarily affect, their methodology or the in-person part. They did also, in this scope of work, they have 3 in-person shorter board workshops, 2.5 hour workshops on 3 different topics. Not that we would do all of them or any of them, it kind of depends on what the board wants to do. There was one topic of the 3 that they suggested that seemed to be of interest of a few of the board members, which was superintendent evaluation and board performance. They had others on governance training and parliamentary procedure. Didn't feel like that was of much interest to people, so potentially there's one workshop there that we might do. And then following up the 4 months would be another in-person retreat, leadership training like we had before. Of all the feedback I got from everyone, it seemed like that was the most universally appreciated portion of the training was the in-person. Not everyone, wasn't unanimous, but I think for the majority of people, that's where we felt like we got the most out of it. So what I'm bringing to you today is kind of a revised proposal. So if 4 of us did training, we did 1 of the shorter workshops, should we choose to do that, and the 1-day retreat. It's about 40,000 total. If 5 of us did coaching, it'd be 43,000, right? And you add another 3,000 for each person. So, and the way they kind of presented this, which I thought was kind of a unique way to approach it, would be if any particular member of our 2 teams was interested in doing the coaching, that they would work through me and kind of tell me what they were working on, what they were interested in getting coaching support on. So it's not just each person deciding individually, but kind of in collaboration with me. So I guess in this way, I'm kind of, the clearinghouse, of interest. So and kind of mentioned, I already kind of reached out to folks just to find out, if they would be interested in doing that or not, just to kind of get an idea. So this that's why you're seeing this again. I know we just saw it last meeting. I didn't know if I was gonna bring this back. I didn't know if I was just gonna wait till the next election and see what happens. I didn't know if the consultants, they've never done anything like this. They usually do like a full package. So they're kind of offering something that they don't normally do, that I think they're kind of interested to see if it's effective or not. So that's what's before you, and I'm open to comments, questions.
Yeah, I just a quick comment, I talked to the staff and got a kind of an impression that's pretty, I think unanimous that people found the in-person training the most helpful. Maybe having one call prior to that in-person training. And I also talked to, I think the cost is way down from the 70,000 we had before, so. I agree, I think that in-person training would be helpful. So I'd vote for that.
We still think it's important for us to set an example as a board, and we expect our professionals to do professional development. As such, I think we should too, and that builds out trust amongst our district staff. It shows that we're doing our due diligence as a leadership team. And then it sounds like Cliff was able to work with the consultants to address some of the concerns that came up about costs, about some of the participation points. We could always use, there's never too much governance training we can get. I think we can always be more and more effective, and then just whatever helps us be better for this team here and for the folks sitting in the back corner. That's gonna be what's important. We voted to increase our stipend. We got the money for that. I think we got the money to increase our training and knowledge as well.
Wow, do you wanna hear what I have to say?
Honestly,
I like the idea. I talked to Cliff about this beforehand, so I'm on board.
I'm in.
I also support Superintendent DeGraw's recommendation for this continued governance training as well as coaching. There's many different organizations that do provide governance training and or coaching, but I know Cliff has firsthand experience with this organization and feels very confident in it. So I trust his judgment with that. I know he's been on the cabinet level team in several other school boards and has seen different variety of training and different types of professional development that has occurred. So I appreciate having that vetted through as opposed to having us listen to 5 or 6 different proposals and presenters about what type of training we would receive. So I think it is important for us to continue learning and growing and developing. Although there will be, Brian and I will obviously be here for a few more years. We've all committed to 4 years of being on the school board. So, that doesn't include additional years of, additional months of learning and growing and developing trust within the community together. So as for staff, I think coaching and training is always helpful. I know we have 2 staff members who are new, but then we also have 2 staff members who are in a sense new to a different board, because previously they've been with a board that had been around for years. So, there's always different things that we can learn when we come together as a new team. So I do support this recommendation.
President Panione, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we do have a public comment on this.
Oh, I'm so sorry, we have a public comment?
Yes, we do. It'll be Carolyn Brown.
Hello again. I'm here tonight to strongly support the continuation of governance training and leadership development and to make clear why this work is essential. This community has repeatedly raised concerns about board dysfunction, erosion of trust, and the lack of unified leadership. These concerns are real and they are based on what the public has observed here in this room. Governance training is a proven way to address these issues, strengthen accountability, and clarify roles, but it only works if every board member participates fully. At the December board meeting, Board President John Finsky stated, quote, "I get the sense that this is not unanimous. It is not worthwhile if it is not absolutely unanimous," end quote. That statement is troubling. Healthy governance includes discussion and disagreement before a vote. However, once the board decides, every member has a professional obligation to participate fully in carrying out that decision. Governance does not fail because members disagree. It fails when members selectively disengage because outcomes are inconvenient. That behavior is neither leadership nor professionalism, it is abdication of responsibility. It is equally concerning to hear suggestions that upcoming elections with 3 board members on the ballot somehow eliminates the need for governance development. This board has a full year of service ahead. This community expects and deserves full professional engagement from all members until that term ends. Anything less is unacceptable. I'm also deeply concerned by a statement made by Mr. Fenske that the superintendent's job is to, quote, "get along with the board," end quote. This is a serious misunderstanding of governance. The superintendent is not here to manage personalities or placate individual members. The superintendent's role is to lead the district, implement board-adopted policy, and provide professional and sometimes challenging guidance. Expecting otherwise undermines clarity, weakens governance, and creates confusion about roles. Finally, I must address another statement by Mr. Fenske, quote, "If we take no action, we can wait for Tracy to get back and you will have 3 votes," end quote. This comment is deeply concerning. It demonstrates a willingness to circumvent an elected board member's vote based on assumptions regarding that member's anticipated position, behavior that is completely contrary to professional, democratic governance. Attempting to maneuver around a colleague's participation undermines the integrity of the board, erodes public trust, and signals that political gamesmanship take precedence over leadership. This community deserves a board that behaves professionally for the entirety of its term, showing up, participating fully, and respecting the democratic process. The conduct we have witnessed demonstrates exactly why governance training is needed. Serving on this board carries obligations that last until the final day of each member's term. The community expects those obligations to be met, and anything less undermines trust, accountability, and effective governance.
Thank you, Carolyn. I would like you to know, or you should be happy to know, that all of the board members present, including Board Member Fenske, have an excellent working relationship with our superintendent. And we do all participate fully, but thank you for your comment. Does anybody want to make a motion on this?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve I guess, how do I say this, Cliff's proposal for additional hybridized training, that's the word.
We're gonna say item 7.7.
How's that, item 7.7?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Board Member Fenske, a second by Board Member Haynes. This is a roll call vote. Is that what it says?
So it does.
It threw me off because I just saw that.
Threw me off as well. Okay, Trustee Haynes,
Aye.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
President Pagnoni,
Aye.
Trustee Fenske,
Aye.
and Trustee Malcolm.
Aye.
Okay, successfully passes 5-0. Yay, Cliff.
You go first.
Okay, so we are moving on to information items. We're going to go over to 8.1, the school accountability report card.
Yes, thank you. So state law requires each school receiving state funding to publish an annual school accountability report card, or SARC, by February 1st, and for the governing board to review the district's SARC template every 3 years to ensure alignment with the state model. Dry Creek contracts with Document Tracking Services, which is also known as DTS, to develop and maintain its SARC template rather than using the state-adopted template on the CDE website. Staff has compared the district's DTS-created template to the state model and confirmed that all required non-high school SARC sections are included and compliant with state requirements, including language translation when needed. The Communications Department publishes SARCs online, notifies parents and guardians of their availability, and provides paper copies upon request. The sample SARC provided with this agenda item is for informational purposes only and demonstrates to the board that the district's template contains all required state reporting components and meets compliance requirements. Thank you.
Do we have any questions or commentary before we move on to the next information item? Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to 8.2, the California dashboard results. Hey, Sarah.
In the spirit of it being almost 9 o'clock, I won't belabor
Go,
all the
go.
slides.
Thank you.
But I do wanna make sure that we get any questions answered and that we're thorough. So I think that you probably had a chance to look at the presentation, and then in the annotation, I just wanted to note that there was like a little packet, a toolkit that
has multiple pages explaining all the interesting ways that all of the data in the dashboard is calculated and then reported. And unfortunately, there's not like one nice way it's done, that's why we have to have a packet, because each of the elements or measures is done differently, and then reported differently. So the dashboard generally comes out in the middle of December, and there was a move made last year to shorten the length of time for us so that it comes out in November of this year, so it came out in late November. And then next year they're expecting in October, kind of how they did the CAS scores, they kept trying to move them back, so we got them in a timely fashion, because we're reporting last school year's information right now, which I know seems weird in the middle of the new school year. Unfortunately, that's when all of this gets compiled. And a positive note for our district, we have ways to also look at the data, right, before this comes out. So it's not like we're waiting and we're like, surprise, here's the data. We have multiple other data points that we have to use because this comes out so late. Another reminder that this drives the information or the planning in the LCAP, which Christy and I will present the mid-year next month. So you get some more of LCAP and dashboard. So why the California dashboard? What does it do for us? It's California's main accountability system. We moved away from API and all of those things years ago and moved towards a growth model or looking at measures as a growth rather than just a single number. And so it's kind of like a report card. It communicates to the public how our district and our schools are doing, common standards and expectations across the state for each school and district, looks at different student groups and how each of them are making progress or not making progress, looks at 8 state priorities, and then informs our annual budget and our strategic planning. So Christy and I spend a lot of time together. Good thing we like each other. So this is the main visual that the dashboard uses to show high or low performance. We've seen these before, so I won't belabor this, but just as a reminder, high and low performance, so red and blue are opposite for the academics and for chronic absenteeism and suspension. So we wanna see it say high blue in the academics, and we want it to say low blue in the other two.
Okay.
Just
Not complicated.
little opposites. Just a reminder that the dashboard actually has 11 measures, but 8 measures are publicized via the color and level model. And you can see them there. I won't go through all of them because we're gonna go through all of them. And then the local indicators are done through a series of self-surveys and analysis and stakeholder input. And then we submit that, and it's either a met or not met based on your submission. So on the dashboard, there's 14 different student groups that are noted and that we look at data for making progress in the categories or the measures. They added the long-term English learners last year. They hadn't been a separate student group that we were looking at. In Dry Creek, we actually have 13 of the 14 student groups represented in our population, which is not common. Usually, for everyone to be represented in our student population. Many districts don't have that. New to the dashboard this year are a couple different things. Teacher assignment and monitoring was added to the actual dashboard. That's something that we monitor yearly, but they added it to the actual dashboard. The CalPADS data, quality and certification, so we upload student data to CalPADS where they get all of this information, and that has to be certified for accuracy, and that's now included as a criteria to determine differentiated assistance. There's a growth model that I'll be sharing a little bit about, that's newer, and then the science test was added, but it's not used for accountability in terms of whether or not we're making progress. It's an information item right now. So just a little bit of a reminder about the state indicators. We move in status and change, so based on our change from prior year, that's noted how we increase, decrease, decline significantly, and then where does that put our status based on numbers? So each 5x5 is different for each of the measures, that's why the numbers aren't there, but low, medium, and high would have a number there, and then also the change would have numbers there. So for example, the purple school, not that you can see the difference between purple and pink up there, but on my screen it's different, I promise. So the increased and low with the designation of yellow there, that school has a lower chronic absenteeism rate, but they increased, so their rating was yellow and low. The pink has a higher absenteeism rate, but because they improved, they declined, they actually have a higher color rating and status. Which doesn't in your brain seem logical sometimes, like if it's lower, how come we're, I guess, more in trouble than someone that has a higher rating? Overall, here are our results for 2025. So as you can see, we had mostly yellow, we have a couple green, and then our chronic absenteeism rate is orange this year, which I wanna talk about a little bit later when we talk about as to some of the reasons why, and that's not necessarily indicative of, you know, like we're just out of control with chronic absenteeism. For English language arts, I have here listed all the student groups and where they landed this year with our distance from standard and then their level. So we're currently 7.9 points above standard. So the difference from standard is what we talk about. So there's like a median level that we talk about for each student and then for the district as a whole. And then the difference from standard would be above or below that. We had a slight increase of 2.8 points. If we were just 0.2 points higher, we would have been in the green. So that's an interesting thing. That could be like 3 kids getting 2 more questions right. You know, it's a very interesting way that we get those movements. So in 3rd through 8th grade, we had 4,427 students that were counted in this measure. 12 of the 14 subgroups maintained or increased. 1 declined but is considered green or high because they stayed their distance above standard is higher, and then 1 declined is in orange or low, and that's our Pacific Islander group. This is the growth model that I mentioned that they had added. So the growth model was specifically developed to be used for accountability purposes only and not individual student level. And therefore it's focused on providing reliable and valid average growth scores. So in English language arts, 69.7% of students that took the test this year did improve their score. And that was 3,611 students. So that's actually a nice thing that they added this year, because in the past it was, we had to finagle all these things and look at CAS scores and do all this stuff to actually see, like, on the dashboard, what did that look like? So this is kind of a nice thing that they added. And they do break it down by student group. I didn't wanna put like 900 slides in here tonight. But if you go to the dashboard website, you'll see on the left-hand side, it'll say information items only. It has science and then math and English language arts growth model, and you can click on that and it gives you all of those different student groups. For math, we're 15.8 points below standard as a district as a whole. And when we decreased by 1.1, I don't think that's a surprise to you. You guys have already looked at our scores from CASP, so it's like a parallel thing. So If we were 4.1s higher, we would have been in the green. And I have the comparison there from the last 2 years. So that was 4,449 students. 8 of our 14 student groups increased or maintained, so not all of them, had a decline. 6 did have a decline, and they're either orange or red, and then one is in the one yellow medium that declined. And then here's the growth model, so 67.1% of our students did improve their score from the prior year in math. Science, we were 59.7 points above standard. Go science teachers. And again, the science measure is not included as an accountability it's accountability, but not included in whether or not we've made progress and are we gonna get in trouble if we didn't make progress, kind of a thing. It's also calculated differently than the language arts and math, so it's the kids get a scaled score, and then that scaled score is transferred into 0 to 100 points, and then they use a point system rather, instead of a scaled score like language arts and math. And they said it's because of the California, alternative assessment for science, and so that they could better articulate between the two, because the scale score wouldn't be articulatable. For our English language learners, again this year, we're super excited. Our English language learners always make a lot of progress in Dry Creek, and generally our RFEP students, our reclassified students that have met proficiency outperform a lot of our other student groups. So that tells us that what they're getting does carry on into their schooling later on, so that's great. So we're at 63% of our EL students made progress, and then 66% of our LTEL students made progress. So this is a really good result for our district, and these are for 1st through 8th grade students. And just as a little side note, in case you didn't get to read the toolkit, the EL students who increase an LP level, so a progress indicator level, or maintain a level of 4 on the LPAC, are counted as making progress towards, so that's the students that you're seeing there. So that's good. So chronic absenteeism, this covers TK through 8. So interestingly enough, because TK and K are not, we can't make them come to school, there's no recourse for not coming to school, except for we go through all the same supports and services for those students to get them to come to school. And we know that when our TK and K students develop a habit of not coming to school, that does affect them long-term. Research shows that affects them long-term in attending school and being successful. So chronically absent is defined by the state as missing 10% or more of your school year. So for our kids, missing, if they're here 180 days, 18 days or more of school is chronically absent. And we start this chronically absent process at the beginning of the school year. So, in September, parents are getting notified your student's chronically absent already based on the number of days we've been in school. So if they've already missed 10% of their school days, they're getting notified and supports are being in place. It's not, we don't wait till the end of the year and go, oh yeah, these guys are missed 18 days, right? It's an ongoing process. Weekly, monthly, Megan's team tracks all of this very closely. The sites track all of it very closely, and we have a lot of processes in place to intervene and meet with parents and kids and try to get them to school. This includes excused and unexcused absences. So even if you have an excuse from the doctor because you had a doctor's appointment, that also is considered part of your chronic absenteeism. In the past, it was not. When the state changed to looking at chronic absenteeism more than truancy really, excused absences were just blended right in here. Over the last 3 years, we have decreased our chronic absenteeism by 13%. In 2022, it was 27.7% coming out of all of the chaos. And our sites worked really diligently the last several years to increase our attendance, our daily attendance, but also our chronic absenteeism rates to decrease those. This year it went up by 0.8. That's not a very significant increase, so it basically stayed the same. And just a side note, if like 91 fewer students had been, chronically absent, we would have been in the yellow. So we have about, we were like 100 more students basically, were considered to be chronically absent. And what else do I wanna say? Oh, 2 of the groups, I didn't list all the ups and downs here, but 2 of the student groups, our foster homeless youth and homeless youth, increased significantly. So so when we look at from year to year, sometimes we have significant shifts in numbers or percentages, so this is just an example. So last year, for chronic absenteeism, our foster rate was 6.7%. This year it's 21%. And last year we were in the green because it had gone down 41%. So when we look at some of these student groups, my team, the sites, we know who our students are. And some of the student groups are easier to know than others. But we know sometimes why those big shifts happened. And with student groups that have a smaller population size, from year to year, depending on what happened and which students were here, that can significantly shift some of these greens to oranges and reds to blues all of a sudden, in 1 year you're red to blue, and it's like, well, we're not doing anything different, we're still supporting the same way, but because of the circumstances of students, that can shift. So just to keep that in mind when we see big shifts like this, especially with chronic absenteeism or suspension, it can, the pendulum can swing one way or the other very quickly year to year. And then for others, we see a very consistent, increments going down, and that's more of a reflection than these big pendulum shifts. Let me see, I think that was all for that one. Suspension rate, we're at 2.6, we went up by like 0.1, so we stayed relatively the same. If we had 28 fewer students that were suspended, we would have been over in the green category, just for information. Suspension also includes TK to 8th grade students, and it's calculated by the number of students that were suspended at least 1 full day divided by the cumulative enrollment.
Wait, do TKers actually get suspended?
Not very often. Not very often, but yes, but it includes, that's what it includes. So in this calculation, it was like 7,098 students, because the cumulative enrollment is based on any student that was enrolled at any time in the school year. So even by the end of the year, if we only had 6,500, but at some point in the year we had 7,098, they would consider all the students that had been enrolled. I don't really have any big things to point out here. That's kind of what it is. Except for some of the fluctuations weren't that much, and it shifts you back and forth, just like I talked about with chronic absenteeism. And then just to get a kind of a really fast swoop of all the schools, and you already looked at this prior to the meeting, but just this is a comparison of all the schools in the district and where they fell with their levels and colors. And then this is the student group performance.
throughout the district and where they fell with, and this is just a depiction of what you already saw, but kind of all in one spot, so you can have a little comparison. And then in terms of how we are doing, we're at 3.2 average rating if you take all of the measures together, and where we were with our levels. And so this is our district's rating here, with blue being 5 points and red being a 1 point if you average that out. And then we just threw some in here like Shay does with the CAS, we just threw some similar schools in just so you can get a sense. I do have to say, like if you look at our chronic absenteeism rate at 14%, we're like 7th because we're orange. But if you looked at some of the schools, like I did that one slide at the beginning, like our rate could be lower, but we're orange because we increased by 0.8, and someone else could be at 20, but they decreased by 5, so they're green. So, you know, it's all relative, we kind of have to look at all those pieces, but just to, you know, give you guys a little snapshot. And same here with 15 elementary districts between Placer and Sac County, just kind of a little snapshot of that also. And then I put this in our board update, so if you read the board update, you already saw this information. Just giving you a little precursor. So we were eligible for differentiated assistance this time around. We have been once before also, and then we were out for a couple of years. And then now we're back in differentiated assistance, which is I guess just a little bit of oversight from the county where they come and ask if we need any help with anything. We just met with Leslie Riston the other day, and we have a process, we follow a improvement science process to look at data, kind of dig down deep, do fishbone exercises to see what our main issues may or may not be, comparison to the data, and then we devise a plan coming up with drivers and change ideas and measures that we're going to look at for the year to address the deficits. Chronic absenteeism, you can see we have four student groups, the suspension rate 2, and then students with disabilities for math and language arts achievement. So in this area, if you have a student group that has, you know, 2 reds, sometimes we end up, and none of the schools are in ATSE, which is assistive technological support. So they didn't have these situations, but sometimes we'll have a student group that doesn't have a large population, and so we won't have a level. I'm sure you've read that on the, like if there's not enough students, they don't give us a level. So then we'll end up sometimes at a site where you don't have a high level, so then they end up with not enough indicators to mitigate, I guess, this issue, and we'll end up in ATSE, but no one's in ATSE this year. So just as a district. So Megan has a team that will address the chronic absenteeism and suspension for our differentiated assistance plans. And then Nina and her team will be addressing the special education students and how we can do better and help them make progress in these areas. So we'll be working on that this year. And that will all be included in the LCAP. So you'll see all of that plan in the LCAP with all the other things. And then next steps. So the sites all get a presentation like this based on their own data, and they share that with their site council, their ELAC, and their staff. And then I didn't bring one. We have what we call the dashboard analysis tool, and it's really small, but it has all all of that information with all the ups and downs, changes, the distance from standard, all of that information. It has a whole bunch of questions to dig down deep into the data. And all of those groups will go through that process together at separate times and provide their own feedback on what they're seeing in the data or questions they might have, additional data, ideas for what needs to be addressed, those types of things. And that's how we gather a lot of feedback from our engagement partners. And then Judy and I and Christy will do that again with the LCAP PAC, which is the LCAP Guiding Committee of engagement partners, family members, and community. And we'll use all of that information as we move forward with addressing all of the student needs through the LCAP and the site plans, which will come to you guys again in June with all of the site plans. So they use all of that, and then Christy and I and our teams use all of that here for the LCAP as well. And then, as I just discussed, the differentiated assistance teams will be creating those plans to address those deficits for the students we just mentioned. And that is the dashboard in a nutshell.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comments, or should we move on to policy?
I just wanted to comment that I really appreciated having this information in the board packet ahead of time. I am a very visual learner, so it was very helpful to be able to preview it prior to coming to the board meeting and see everything in print and be able to take the time to study and analyze it. So I know that took some time to get it to us sooner than later, but I really did appreciate that. So thank you very much, Sarah, for doing that. And then just a general comment of, it's so, this item is so important, student achievement and how our schools are doing. And I just, the fact that it's the last item on our board agenda and we're getting the information in January is nothing that you can control. But I just wanted to make that, a public comment of like, gosh, this should be the priority. This should be where our discussion, our comments, and our energy should be taking place. So no fault of our district or anything that's happening that way, but just I personally think that student achievement and progress in our schools is of utmost priority. So thank you for the time that you put together to do this. I thought it was very thorough. It was very informative. I appreciated the packet. I appreciated the graphs and being able to look at all the students and your deep analysis into it. So much appreciated.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to policy review. So we're doing the second reading on 9.1. Policy reviews for various things. Board policy.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Would it be appropriate to ask if anyone has anything that they have concern about? If not, maybe we could approve these as a group.
I don't think we approve them as a group. We're supposed to approve them item by item.
Well, let's get going then.
So just point of order, I guess. So in different districts, these are handled differently, the first reading, the second reading. This district had the past habit of first reading, and then if there weren't really any objections or anything, the next meeting would come back on consent. So when President Magnoni and I met, she actually expressed an interest in separating them out and not just throwing them in consent. So what you're gonna see at the future meeting is if it's a first reading, it's gonna be under information. If it's a second reading / approval, it's gonna be under action. We're not gonna have this policy section by itself, so it'll be more clear. So these first three are holdovers from last meeting, they're second readings, they're up for approval. The ones after are first reading information only.
So that being said, we're looking at policy 9.1, our second reading on board policy administrative regulation and exhibit 1113 district and school websites. So either we can have questions or discussion, or someone can make a motion to approve, assuming that everybody's read it.
I'll make a motion to approve policy 9.1.
Second.
Okay, policy motion by Board Member Fenske, second by Board Member Walker, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, next one is 9.2, second reading.
I'll make a motion to approve 9.2.
Second.
Goodness gracious, I can't even finish my sentence. All right, motion by Fenske, second by Walker, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's go to 9.3.
Motion to approve 9.3.
Second reading, everyone's ready, are you on board with these two? Tracy and Marty, you okay with that? Okay, do we have a second?
I wanna give someone else
I'll
that chance.
second.
There you go.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Fenske, second by Board Member Malcolm, all in favor?
Aye.
We are now moving to first reading, I'm assuming everybody has read first reading of 9.4. Board policy and administrative regulation, charter school authorization, even though we don't have any charter schools as far as I understand. And
No, we don't.
so. Does anybody need to hold off on this and the remainder, or are we ready to just go right through them? Did everyone have a chance to look over
I have
them?
questions, but I'll ask them offline.
So maybe we're gonna-
Do you wanna just,
No.
do you, what, what is the no?
No, I don't wanna ask any questions right now,
No, I mean, do you wanna just hold it until like the, okay,
because we don't have any charter schools, so it's all right.
Make a motion to approve item 9.4.
I'll second.
motion by Board Member Fenske, second by Board Member Balcom, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one, 9.5, first reading for Board Policy 5141.5, mental health. Blah, 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 sexual health and HIV/AIDS prevention instruction, absences and whatnot.
Doesn't seem like there's a lot changed in the mental health one, so.
Has everyone had a chance to review it?
Yes.
Board Member Fenske, are you reviewing right now?
Do we do?
No, we discussed it as well. No ground out here. No, I discussed it this morning with myself. Just kind of reviewing it a little bit.
I'll make a motion to waive the first reading of item 9.5.
I'll second.
Wait, are we just waiving it and we're just approving it? Is that what your motion is?
Yeah, remember that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Walker, second by Board Member Balcom, all in favor?
Aye.
Wow, I think this is the fastest we've ever gone through board policy.
Let's keep
Holy moly. Okay, 9.6, first reading for review, child abuse prevention and reporting.
Yeah, nothing substantive in the changes, it just seems like a lot of technical nuances on the changes.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion to approve 9.6.
Second.
All right, motion by Board Member Haynes, second by Board Member Fenske, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, ooh, it's the last one. 9.7, first reading for Board Policy Administrative Regulation 5142, safety. Nobody has any questions for Jim?
I do have a question about why that part was redlined. Jim, you haven't had a chance to talk all night. In 5142,
The policy or the AR?
the policy, yeah.
Oh, that part, the green section right above it actually is a little more, was an updated descriptor as far as, what the district is responsible for supervision.
So it's not that you don't have to do the red part, it's the expansion of the correct part of it, yes.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, no, like-
Make a motion.
So are these, but in this one. Go ahead.
No, did you have a question?
Okay, yes, on this one. No, I'm good.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to waive the first reading of item 9.7 and adopt,
Approve the first reading.
approve the first,
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
And I'll second it.
All right, motion by Board Member Walker, second by Board Member Fenske. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so next meeting is Thursday, February 12th, 2026. We'll be discussing some pending agenda items for the budget workshop. Number 2, can't wait to hear from you, and the mid-year LCAP report. Yay, okay. It's
Final
9:28.
comment from me,
Oh, yes,
I just wanna
you have a
thank,
final
I
comment.
wanna thank Megan and everybody for talking to me about this. My daughter did go through this, and I reviewed 2018 in the workbook, and it sounds like, and thank you for answering all the questions I had about the new update, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, can I adjourn the meeting at
Yeah.
9:28? We'll see you next month.